push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Talk until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see matter of fact. Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it.
Hello and welcome to My Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick. Just trying to get this all set up and ready for tonight. Really crappy again, a lot of pain, a lot of aches. I wanted to get this joint ready by the time I got the show started, but that never happens the way you want it. But I got it nice and rolled. How beautiful. Whew. But like I said, dealing with a lot of aches and pains. I know it has to do with the weather. I don't know what the hell's going on, but the weather's really, really messing with me for the past few days. And pretty much like it's been a long while. It's been bothering me. And yeah, I take my medication and everything, but there's only so much that the medication could do. This pain is like deep in my bones, and it's affecting my shoulders, my neck, my back. My knee is acting like crazy. I'm trying to get the knee situated, so I'm trying to figure all this shit out, and it's just very stressful. That's all it is. It's a lot of stress. Let's see who's here. What's in the comments? Yo, what's up, Albie? And Chloe, what's up? Hey, howdy. Albie, it's my birthday. Oh, it's your birthday. Oh, happy 44th birthday. Wow. It's your birthday. Go, Chloe. It's your birthday. She gonna party, smoke like it's her birthday. She better be smoking it up because it is her birthday. I'll smoke up with you. It's a good one too. This one's called Glue. Original glue. It has to be original glue. But happy birthday. Wow. And I wish you many, many, many more. Trust me, 44. What a great number! What a great number, 44. Oh goodness gracious! All right, let's get right to the news because we got a lot to watch. So, and this lady, they need to find this lady already.
Investigators are widening their search for Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is now asking neighbors to turn over any
Yeah, let's
surveillance
puff it
video
up.
where they see
I'm gonna puff it up
anything
right now.
suspicious. The time frame they're looking at is January 1st through February 2nd. Fox's Sarah Allegre joining us live now in Tucson, Arizona. And Sarah, you're outside Nancy's home. A lot of new developments happening where you are. What are neighbors there being asked to look for?
After themselves.
The Sheriff's Department a little bit
You need
earlier
to be
this
careful out
afternoon,
there in the
sending
desert.
an alert to people who live within 2 miles of where I'm standing here in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. Police are asking them to look for cars, traffic, people, anything that kind of rubs you the wrong way, anything really out of the ordinary. I even talked to a neighbor here. She tells me investigators have been going
What
door to
what type of
door.
investigation we're
She's
doing
been asked
here?
for video from January 31st. That's the day before Nancy Guthrie was
Rub me the
reported
wrong way.
missing.
I'm gonna
Now, the Pima
report
County
you.
Sheriff's Department saying they have been scouring through several pieces of evidence at this point around Nancy Guthrie's home. Agents also set up a tent for a few hours this morning. Fox News Digital reporting FBI experts in video and forensic science were seen carrying equipment into that tent. It looks like these big black boxes. Investigators also left with a diagram of heights and some other measurements. It looks like they may be comparing what they found on scene with that Nest surveillance video. It was released on Tuesday, showing a masked individual. This person was armed and wearing gloves, tampering with Nancy Guthrie's cameras outside that front door. Now, cybersecurity experts, they tell us that video could contain more clues than we realize.
Of course.
I would bet that the FBI has
There's more video
related to that video that they haven't released. The only reason they wouldn't have it is if somehow the audio was separately corrupted from the video when they recovered that video. That particular Ring camera has a battery. It's very possible that as that criminal carried the Ring camera with him, it recorded additional audio after he ripped it off the wall.
Wait a minute.
Now, earlier today,
Wait a minute. This is bigger than big. They're just letting the cat out of the bag. How, might you ask, can a Ring camera or a Nest camera ripped from the wall, no wires, no nothing attached? They saying it has a battery pack a little inside that continues recording and records the audio. Help me make that make sense. How did we get from Nancy not having a subscription for her cameras to now the cameras were recording the whole time without a subscription, and it had audio files to it, and the camera was ripped off the freaking from the wall, and yet it still recorded. It still recorded and got sounds. So I'm sure the FBI have a lot of explaining to do to the public about these cameras being able to record. Look at this. Let's zoom in. It's like, pay attention. We want the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But how do you rip off a camera from the door and yet it still records, and it records not only audio, but the picture? It's like it's weird. How did that happen? Right. And nobody's catching it. Nobody's questioning it. I go to every single YouTuber. I follow a lot of YouTubers, and not one of them are talking about the camera and how this camera can be operated without, look at it. It just wants to zoom in. It's like, you really want to focus. This camera can record and Like my camera's acting crazy. Like you see, like the camera does whatever it wants. So this camera could be like, who knows where this camera's at? I mean, next thing you know, in the future, these Ring door cameras, they're gonna have like little GPS systems inside of them. So if you take them with you, guess what? They can follow you. So I would be careful with these devices. If you really truly care about your safety and so forth, if you want, yeah, go ahead and get the cameras and so forth. But you gotta understand what you're getting yourself into also at the same time. You know, it could be a damn if you do, damn if you don't type of deal. But that's very fascinating that the camera ripped from the wall can still record like the picture and audio. That's a first for me. Let's keep it moving.
Guthrie posting this video on Instagram. It's a montage of clips of Nancy along with Savannah and her
Thank
siblings.
you,
Growing
Chloe.
up. Savannah writing
Yeah, I
in the
wanted to make
caption,
a little
"Our lovely mom, we will
ocean
never give
today.
up on her. Thank you for your prayers and hope." The sheriff's department also saying their investigators are
That's what
following
they're
up on
admitting, Chloe.
several
They're
leads.
admitting that
Means
they
right
are
now here in
spying
Nancy
on
Guthrie's
everyone
neighborhood,
that
we are
has those
going to have an
devices.
increased law enforcement activity presence here,
And
as
they
we've been
sell it to
seeing for the
people
past couple
based
of days,
on
as they've been
safety.
combing
It's like,
through
hey,
the
you care about
Catalina
your safety? Well, you need to
foothills
have
here,
this.
rather. And so
So
we
they
know
all
that there
go
are
and put all
still
these
no
cameras
named
and put them in their
suspects in this
house,
case, but
and
definitely
not
quite a new
knowing that these
development
devices are recording
for
audio
Thursday, now
also.
day 12
Like,
since her
besides
disappearance.
the picture is also audio from even within your home. So you could put the setting, let's say for instance, let's make an example. You can have a camera inside your home and you could put it only setting for picture. Like it should only be taking pictures, like video from within, right? But not knowing, and you trust me, you make sure you put the audio off on the settings, but secretly the device is still recording audio. Right, we need some explanation, and no one's talking about it. Nope, they're not. That's crazy. That's wild. I do not have any of those devices, nor do I need any of those devices, because where I live, there's plenty of cameras here, and I don't need to buy it. But the fact that they can listen to everything, like even your cameras from and your laptops and your cell phones, is proving that these devices are constantly listening to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if the battery dies, guess what? It's still listening to you. It is still listening to you. Everything is listening. There's no more privacy. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. You belong to the government. You have a number. You have a social security number, you have a birth certificate that you're labeled as an American and you belong to America. So, yeah, that's crazy. And they want to keep a track of their herd. They want to know what their herd is doing at all times. Wow, what an invasion of privacy. But they admitted it. They just admitted it. All right, let's keep it moving.
McCaffrey, who's a former FBI supervisory special agent, Nick Barrero, certified audio video forensic analyst and chief forensic analyst at Principal Forensics, and Teresa Payton, CEO of the cybersecurity for Fortalice Solutions. She's a former White House chief information officer. It's great to have all of you with us. Thank you very much for being here. Ren, let me start with you. You know, the thing that I keep writing in my notes as I hear all this and I watch all of this, right? The analysis that we're seeing that's done now, the tent that goes up, analysis potentially of these blood spots. It feels like it's taken a long time to seal off this area and get in there and preserve
The
this,
fact that
and to preserve any video
released,
that might be
hold
within
on.
2 miles.
I can stop Fox. The fact that they released the house and the property back to the family, like literally, like after like 2 days, I think it was like two days that they were there, and then the police like released it, like released the house back to the family. It was like, okay, nothing to see here. Beep beep beep. And it was like, wait a minute. And then Trump, I guess, got that call, and he made the call for the FBI to go over down there. They brought in a brigade of FBI agents to Arizona and to deal with this crazy shit that's going on there in Nancy's house. And the fact that they retaped the area as a crime scene, and then they're trying to figure out and try to get more evidence while the whole property was already like tainted, pretty much tainted by the media going up and taking pictures of the blood on the floor and contaminating the whole like area. Like, what is going on? How like do the policing down in Arizona? I just don't understand. I don't know. That's how they do their policing and their investigations down there. They don't do an investigation. They release the house in 2 days, and then they're like, okay. Like, what? That's crazy. All right, let's keep it moving.
These houses. Your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I know it's frustrating and for the public to watch law enforcement work this way, but sometimes we don't have all the information. Now, keep in mind, we're bringing in 18,000 reported leads so far since that video has been released. And what's happening is they're also getting updated information. Hey, I saw a vehicle stopped over here on the side of the road. Hey, I noticed this little object over here. And so you're seeing the tasking of agents on actionable intelligence to go and collect that new information. But I agree, it is frustrating to see all these things that should have been or could have been done earlier. But in hindsight, we have to always trust the law enforcement. But I still believe, based on the beginning of this investigation, that things started way too slow. And some of the reporting is that there was a disconnect between the sheriff's office and the FBI, which is unacceptable. We don't have time of luxury. We have to move quickly on this case. So I can see why it's frustrating.
Yeah, Nick Barrero, you look at that tent that went up in front of the house today, and I think about all the people who were going up to that front door. And, you know, pizza delivery at one point to a reporter, back and forth. And now they sealed it off this morning.
Wow.
To, I would imagine, you know, take pictures
keep
in there,
contaminating
the
scene
forensically from that area.
Yeah, my guess is that the blood, the fibers, all of that type of forensic stuff was already done. Mm-hmm. And this tent is up specifically.
How would you know that?
The forensic
did they tell you that
to get in there?
That's assuming
and do their work. So
you know, you can't be a reporter and assume shit.
What they're going to be doing in there almost certainly is using a LiDAR scanner to create a 3D model of that porch. And then they can use that 3D model in combination with the surveillance footage that we've already seen. And they can take some very accurate measurements within that 3D space. And we also saw the scale, the height chart that was used. That would have been for an exemplar recording that they would have made by mounting an identical camera on the wall. We know that that camera was tampered with, it was removed, but they could mount an identical camera in the same space and use that camera to make some exemplar recordings with a scale exactly where this suspect was seen standing. And then they can overlay that scale on the surveillance video and get, again, a very accurate height chart.
So, Teresa, you know, one of the big questions is obvious: what is being held close to the vest? We still don't know how this individual got into the house. They're at least
we'll know. They give us more video
entry into the house.
They have all the video.
Exist. This is Eric O'Neill, a cybersecurity expert, talking about the potential that there's also audio could be forensically pulled off.
I would bet that the FBI has audio related to that video that they haven't released. The only reason they wouldn't have it is if somehow the audio was separately corrupted from the video when they recovered that video. That particular Ring camera has a battery. It's very possible that as that criminal carried the Ring camera with him, it recorded additional audio after he ripped it off the wall.
Teresa, your take on where this investigation likely is right now.
You hear this shit, right? Am I like...
Yeah, so there's probably still a lot of information that law enforcement is not sharing with the public because they don't want to tip their hand to the abductors who did this. But it is interesting with the recovered video, there may also be recovered audio, more recovered video that hasn't been shared with the public. What we see
Yo,
could
this
help the
is
public
like,
identify.
what is
And then,
going
of
on
course,
here?
they could be on site right now, like my fellow panelists said, sort of recreating some of the events. They could be using AI to enhance the imagery that we see. I used AI on my own, just sort of looking at, could I unmask the person? How could you match up the eyes with other work might be
And what were you
being
gonna do with
done
that?
while that tent is there, to sort of give the investigative team not only time to get more forensic evidence, but to also do some experiments and some testing without the public being able to see it, because we don't want to tip our hands to the abductors.
Teresa, real quick,
What?
would you expect that we
Then why
will
the
see
fuck
a
you telling
sketch?
me?
I mean, my whole life, whenever there's been
You
a
made zero
manhunt
sense,
for an
lady.
individual like this, eventually you
What
get
the
some
fuck
sort of
was
picture
that
of what
word
they've put
salad
together.
about?
Yeah, what I would expect to see in an investigation like this, especially with AI, we will probably have traditional police sketch artists do person of interest sketches. And it would be interesting to also allow AI to do that and give the
Why
public the
is his?
caveat
Does he
that
have like
AI does
a
hallucinate,
light
AI does get
on
it
his
wrong,
teeth or
but
something?
to offer as many images as possible to the public to see
Why
if
is
we
it
can
so
identify
shiny?
who this person is so we can find Nancy.
Thank you all so much, Ren, Nick, and Teresa.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
I
click
don't
here
know.
to
You guys
subscribe.
are just like blabbing your mouths about these cameras, and these people are like, yeah, the cameras were probably still recording as they were kidnapping her, and it might still be recording right now because it has like a little battery pack in it. Like, what are we talking about? Wait a minute. What is happening here? Are you telling me that all along you guys been spying on us and you're admitting it now that the cameras constantly record even if you don't even have it connected? Let's say you didn't even connect it, can it just start recording you? Like technology these days, it doesn't faze me if they could put like a longer battery life without anyone knowing. And some people, they just, they like cancel their subscription. They're like, oh, I don't want this Ring camera, and they take it off, and not knowing that the motherfucker is still recording and it's taking audio files. So what you got to do? You got to drown the bitch, or you got to like burn it to like, so that way it doesn't like, I don't know. What do you do with these cameras when you deactivate them and they continue to record and intrude in your privacy? This is a big problem, and it's going to be highlighted. I watch, you'll see. There's going to be a big investigation because of that, because they're going to know, people should be questioning, like, wait a minute, are we being spied? That should be the question. All right, let's go ahead and continue on with the news.
Turning our attention right now to the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Investigators, following the release of that FBI surveillance video, may believe there is more images out there. They're asking people within a 2-mile radius to kind of keep an eye out for that. Also send in some of their own surveillance video.
They are admitting it. They're admitting that they're spying on
that
us.
is out of the ordinary. And TMZ, Fox News, talking about this, a piece of video as public assistance is needed. Former FBI supervisor, special agent, tells Fox News Digital that the person seen in the video with backpacks near Nancy Guthrie's home the night she vanished should not be called a suspect or person of interest, saying, quote, they are simply someone identified through the canvas who need to be fully identified in order to determine whether or not there is any involvement. So potentially more big developments and showcasing.
But you don't know that
so many people have. Let's be joined right now by TMZ's Ranson Corky. Ranson, thank you so much for
like
joining us.
they want people to turn in like these videos and clues and stuff like that, but then right away they're like, "Oh, we can't call that a suspect because
they're now asking for
everyone's a fucking suspect, motherfucker."
Well, it's important to look at the time that the authorities had released just a week ago to look at these videos. TMZ now obtaining this new Ring doorbell footage that the FBI is investigating.
Now, is it Ring or is it
clearly
Nest?
see in this video that this person has a
Because
backpack
the other day they
on,
were saying it was
which raised
Nest.
a lot of alarm bells because this was
Now
only
is
5
Ring
miles away from Nancy's home in Tucson. And in this new
I'm
footage,
getting
this
conflicting
is
stories
early
now.
morning on February 1st. This is around 1:53 a.m. So just technically, 20 minutes or so before on that timeline that it was revealed that the software had disconnected for that Nest camera that was on Nancy Guthrie's door. Now, in this footage, the new footage that the FBI is investigating, we see a man wearing this backpack. He goes up to a gate. He can't gain access to the gate, and then he leaves. This gives him, 18 minutes or so to then drive to Nancy Guthrie's home, put on this new disguise, and then approach the door. That's a theory that is being run around right now, and that's obviously why the FBI is really lasering in on this video, because this is very, similar circumstances to not really look at this and go, this could be connected.
Yeah, that is so very true. And obviously, just the connection, the timeline, all of these things similar. And they're not calling this individual a person of interest or a suspect, just that they want to talk with him, similar to the way they talked to that Carlos individual a couple nights ago. They're also asking for people around the area to send in video from basically the entire month of January to see if there's anything suspicious on any of those cameras. What might that have for investigators?
Right. Well, they've asked the public to please keep an eye out. Anything suspicious, please report. And with this new video of this alleged suspect walking up to the door, now seeing what he was wearing, seeing the body type, and I have to say he or she because we don't know exactly the gender of the person that is in that video walking up to the doorbell at Nancy Guthrie's house.
I'm sorry,
But
that's
they
a
are
guy's
saying,
hand.
Please be on the lookout for
Let's
anything
not
suspicious.
be worried about the
also in
pronouns.
videos saying the exact same thing.
You want to be worried about the pronouns?
As soon as possible, because she does believe
TMZ,
that Nancy is alive,
idiot.
and she is really hoping, obviously, to
We don't
bring
know
her
if it's a
home
guy or a
healthy
girl.
and safe. In terms of the investigation,
it's a guy.
important to note as well.
You don't see the fucking
tracking
balls
some
in
of
the fucking dude
from
walking
the
up
video
to the
of that
fucking
man
doorbell.
walking up to the door, and there's 3 items specifically that they're looking at, which includes the
Tell
glove,
by the
the
crotch.
backpack, and the gun holster. They've already identified
My
the backpack
goodness.
to being a Walmart Ozark backpack specifically, and this kind of gave them many different paths here to identify different parts of this person, which they could eventually lead them to finding when these items were purchased, if they are new items, if they were purchased from a store nearby in Tucson, because they do believe this person is Tucson based. Now, looking at all this footage right now, there's a lot more questions than answers,
this
obviously,
looks very
but we can
suspicious.
only hope that they're getting to the bottom of this very soon.
Yeah, they want to find some of these answers, anything in particular that might keen their interest to lead them to the next lead that leads them clue to clue to hopefully find.
It's probably not the guy, but it's good to follow all leads.
We were hearing reports yesterday, TMZ received another note saying someone had information that would lead to the kidnapper. They're saying they needed a Bitcoin, and then more developments in terms of this, ominous developments on this. TMZ, a post saying they have received another email from a person who claims to know the identity of Nancy Guthrie's kidnappers. The words are chilling, saying in there that this is to, quote, not be taken, that they haven't been taken seriously. What more can you tell us about this correspondence? Another note to TMZ, potentially from someone that knows who the
TMZ is
kidnapper,
getting all these notes.
kidnapper is.
Well, this first note from this alleged, person that knows.
Why are they
the
making
suspect,
TMZ so
knows the
relevant?
identity of this suspect was sent to us yesterday. The initial one asking for a Bitcoin in exchange for information about the suspect to identify them, saying that they know who it was. Then today, this morning, 8 o'clock this morning, Pacific time, just after 8, we got another note from this allegedly the same person saying that they're not being taken seriously. Obviously, this person sent this anonymously. They gave reasons as to why. They are asking for the Bitcoin, which we were able to divulge. They did say that they're asking for the Bitcoin because when they do reveal this information about the suspect, they will have to lay low, and they need that money to be able to, step back from everything in case this person that did this, kidnapped Nancy, is going to enact retaliation on them in fear of retaliation. So this second note, we sent it off to the FBI, sent it off to to the authorities, and they are currently investigating it. It's unclear whether or not it is legitimate because obviously, we've seen it already, an arrest was made. People are taking advantage of the situation.
I wanted to ask you about that. This letter is ominous, but we don't know if it is authentic. And you alluded to it, saying they need the money to lay low after identifying the kidnapper for fear of retaliation, but also said in this note, quote, they won't want to be, in quote, incriminated like the Carlos guy. And clearly this individual is at least watching the news, if not having information. What do you make of that line? The fact that they know that an individual was detained, was questioned by authorities about this case.
Right. Well, Carlos, who was detained for several hours in question about this and released, I mean, obviously could bring someone fear. If this is a person that it really does have information about the kidnapper, then this is genuine fear that this exact situation might happen to them. And they did mention legal fees as well, having to use that money on legal fees to stay behind the radar here and everything if they do get caught. So there's a lot more questions here than answers right now. We really don't know if this is a legitimate actual person that knows information about this. Again, could be someone taking advantage. But there is another development that we have to mention too, just showing nearby there was a glove as well, a black glove that was taken in to testing as well, sent off to DNA testing, and it's currently pending whether or not that it is actually related to the case in any sense. But that person in the video was wearing what appeared to be dark gloves. Can't see if it's black or not, but this was a black and white video. There's a lot here that they have to actually make a move here.
Yeah, lots of information now coming in, and we know the mountain of tips and calls they are getting about this since that surveillance video was released a couple days ago. All right, Branson, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your insight here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's keep it moving. We're going to go now to Jason A.
Because of the Epstein lists, the West is collapsing right before our eyes. All the conspiracy theories have not merely been confirmed. They have far surpassed every previous version imaginable. The West has revealed itself as a demonic system of civilization.
Did you see the thing in the Epstein files?
Oh, yeah. Like those Epstein files. In fact, I can't believe that, like, everybody just kind of like, oh, okay, and they're moving on with their lives. Did you see that guy at the Atlanta airport flipping out, the well-dressed black dude who just freaks out in the Atlanta, just like a couple of days ago? I saw it on YouTube, and I saw it on Twitter or X, and this guy's just freaking out in the Atlanta airport. He's like, I read the Epstein files. Like, all of you, you're going about your lives like nothing's happening. Look, you're all zombies. And he's right. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Everybody is just numb to everything. Like, dudes, we had a global pandemic, aliens, all these like revelations. People are, eating babies. Here's the guy.
Files have been released, and all of y'all are acting normal. All of y'all.
And there's a longer version of that where he's basically like, you're all acting like nothing's happening. Like, what the fuck? You're all just pretending you're just drones going on in your normal lives.
People are waiting for a condensed version that lays out all the facts. It's the people that are like really interested in reading all the emails.
I think the Luciferians cast a spell on the world. And,
for real?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like how vampires can't go into a house unless they're invited. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time.
And
it's predictive programming. And once you say it out loud and you put it out there and make fun of it and do a little skit, like Stephen Colbert did a little skit on his show where, oh, here's a baby. I'm going to take this baby and I'm going to give it to Moloch. And he goes into like a cloudy red, furnace and hands the baby over. And the baby's going to be fine. And they make a joke about it and the audience laughs. Okay, we're all now conditioned to it. We've all seen it. And by laughing at it, we were complicit.
You think that's on purpose, that this is like some sort of a grand design to get us to be desensitized to the idea of demons eating babies?
Yeah. For sure.
Really?
For sure.
I don't know if anyone at home actually understands something about Satanism. And people often talk about Satanists ruling the world. Satanism.
Alex Jones started this. Shout out to Alex Jones.
Big G. Satanism relies on the fact that they have to tell you what they're going to do.
They can't deceive you.
They can't deceive you because then there's karmic retribution. The only thing Satanists believe in is if they deceive you and trick you, they will be punished for it. So what they have to do is tell you exactly what they're going to do. Let me give you an example. If I give you an apple that's poisoned and I say, do you want an apple? And you eat it, I've poisoned you. If I say, do you want a poison apple? And then you eat it, it's suicide. Therefore, I am not responsible for your death if I told you it was a poison apple. Therefore, I am not responsible for the decimation and extermination of your entire bloodline if I told you what I was going to do and you didn't do anything about it. If I sat there and told you what my intention was and you sat on your off the and watching football, then you deserve to die. That's what they believe. And you're sitting there going, oh, well, you know, maybe they're joking. Arsenal plays next week. I'm going to go down the pub with my mates. Don't you care? Why am I trying to drag you from the abyss? Why am I trying to wake you up? Hello? You need a parachute. The plane's about to crash. And you're sitting there stuffing your face with peanuts.
We'll go business class seats. Not that bad.
What's wrong with you people? They literally tell you what they're going to do to you. You don't even care. It's so over.
It is over.
Listen, at the very center of which stand satanic cannibalistics that devour children, traffic women, orchestrate provocations around the world, manipulate financial markets and political processes, and perform black masses. In other words, only a tiny handful of Western politicians remain untouched by the Epstein network. So what are ordinary people in the West supposed to do now? Previously, if they didn't like the Democrats, they'd vote for the Republicans. If the Republicans disappointed them, they'd switch to the Democrats. But now, who are they even supposed to vote for? And what are we to do now when humanity has adopted so many Western practices in education, when we've come to believe in their culture, when we remake their films, when we still rely on their financial instruments? The situation for the world, for history, for humanity itself is truly extraordinary. We are essentially living in a global state of emergency, an Ernstfall. No one any longer has guaranteed sovereignty. Law, rights, agreements, everything has been voided. And with elites tied to Epstein's island, that should come as no surprise. For them, there are no red lines at all. You see, this satanic elite can simply decide that Putin is evil, or that the Iranians are evil, or that Xi Jinping is evil, and then launch a nuclear war that destroys humanity. By the way, Epstein himself funded the construction of bunkers for that very elite. If tensions continue to rise and the collapse truly accelerates, if social processes start slipping out of these elites' control, because people are now waking up to the fact that they are governed by pedophiles and Satanists in every party and every regime, with only rare exceptions. Russia and China have long spoken of the need for a multipolar world. We were ostracized and condemned for it, but now it is clear we were right. The West is the toxic core from which the rest of the world must escape, and a new, non-Western order must be built. In this historic moment, Russia and China have a unique opportunity to become the true beneficiaries of the total collapse of the entire Western system.
And by the way, but nobody's doing anything about it. We know what's happening.
But that has to take, like, there has to be a person or some group of people.
Yeah, like about 8,500 people.
So many people
that are manipulating the Colbert Show.
They're manipulating everything. It's all an illusion. Like, reality as we know it is fake. That's the revelation that guy is having, and he's looking around and he's like, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, see, I don't. The thing about the emails is one of the things is it's just stuff written down, and so that's sort of hard to digest. Like, what is this? Like, what are they saying? Like, some of it is in code, like walking over beef jerky. Like talking about jerky, could you walk beef jerky over to this person? Like, what does that mean?
For all this pizza they're talking about, no, you never see any pizza.
Right. Yeah. They're ordering pizza.
I'm gonna get some grape soda. It's like with my cheese pizza.
Yeah.
And like, there's all this coded language, and everyone's like, oh, that's you just have pareola. You're just seeing things where you want to see them.
No, that's clearly a code. Well, that was the thing about Pizzagate.
It's absolutely a code. And in fact, mundus vult decepi, ergo decipiatur. It's a long known concept. And so in Latin, mundus vult decepi means the world wants to be deceived. Ergo decipiatur. Therefore, it is. We want to be deceived. We don't want to believe the horrors that are actually behind the veil.
Well, I think with the Epstein files, people are, because of these emails that have been released, people are just now starting to be aware of the bizarreness of the code and some of the thing, like the facts. Like, let's just talk about the sulfuric acid. So this was like right after he was
dissolve up some bodies.
What did it say he ordered? Like, let's maybe we can get Perplexity of this and give us a synopsis of what exactly happened, some sort of a breakdown. Because one of the things they're saying is like he was indicted, and then right after he's indicted, he orders how many gallons?
6 55-gallon containers full of sulfuric acid.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. What?
They're eating babies, man. Like that's
Do you think so that you think is real? So
well, yeah. Not only that, I think that there's sacrifices going on every day in Los Angeles. I mean, allegedly, like high level musicians, let's say, high level female musician is like killing chickens every day, doing sacrifices, like
high level.
Well, I don't want to say. I don't want to say names because I don't want to get sued, and I don't want to be dead either.
It's the reason that Jesus in John 12 referred to Satan as being the prince or the ruler, the commander, the chief, the leader of this world. And that John would later write in his first letter to the church in chapter 5, the whole world is under the control of the evil one. And so even though we become enamored many times with the people who are in positions of authority and power, more often than not, those who rule are under a dark control and influence. So when we talk about the deep state or the dark state and things of that nature, we have to know that they're not just people who are behaving in a bad way. They are people who are controlled and dominated by the very powers of darkness. In fact, Jesus gave the example. He said, these times would be like the days of Noah and like the days of Lot. That when evil, with all of its murderous expressions and iniquities and perversions, became so great in those times, Jesus said of them, as it was in the days of Noah, they ate, they drank, until the day that Noah entered the ark. But to this beastly entity, Satan gives, it says, his power. The word dunamis literally means strength and ability, the kind of way to make things happen. It's where we get our word dynamite. The idea that this is a power that moves things, it makes things happen, it shifts and alters. It's something that becomes very difficult to resist. And he also gives to this entity his throne. The word thronos means a position of rulership. In other words, he sits in an exalted place where he is pulling the levers of society in the world. He's controlling what's going on an international basis. And then ultimately, he says, overall, the principalities, the things that John talked about, when he talked about having thrones, he talked about principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this age against spiritual hosts of wickedness. And it's only going to intensify, he tells us, because the great dragon and his angels are going to be hurled to the earth. And the evil one who has plagued mankind from the very beginning will be fully unmasked and will no longer pretend. He will move right into humanity's neighborhood. And that's why the angel shouts out from heaven, woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you and he is filled with fury. Because he knows that his time is short. But because God's judgment of mankind's willful wanton sinfulness requires God to give humanity a wake-up call. Which is kind of why Paul warned that one day the signs of the times of the end, that it's getting near, would be visible in the physical nature around us. He says in Luke 21, he said, there will be great earthquakes in various places. There will be famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. There will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and on the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the very powers of heaven will be shaken. And if that weren't terrible enough, he even describes how within the community of men, in 2 Timothy 3, he said, evil men and impostors will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. We talked last time about the empire of the beast, this one world government that's going to come on and what it's going to look like. But also we have introduced to us is the great red dragon. As we previously studied, his identity, which actually he has endeavored, I believe, to hide, is really fully exposed at this point. I mean, being hurled to the earth, as it says 3 times over in the chapter, is the idea that he becomes up close and personal. He no longer is able to wear the disguise, as Paul said to the Corinthians, that Satan masquerades himself as an angel of light. But in fact, he becomes the most horrible being of darkness. He's given a number of different names that are really descriptors as opposed to just titles. We give names to one another based upon how they sound. That's why so many kids are getting such strange names. But these names are describing the characteristics of his person, that he is Lucifer, the light bearer, and yet instead of bearing light now, he just projects darkness. He's Satan, which means he's the adversary. He's always against us. He's the devil, means he is diabolical, quite literally, in the way he operates. He's described as being serpent, like we see in the garden, the adversary. And it's interesting also, he's described here as being the accuser. But Jesus' favorite name, the one he used most often in the Gospels, was he called him the evil one. That he is basically evil incarnate. And it's interesting because in Ezekiel 28, in verse 15, where it describes him, he says, you were perfect, it says of Lucifer. You were the epitome of God's creative beauty and grace and wonder. And you were exalted, he says, until, and the Hebrew word really literally is pronounced eval. You became until evil was found in you. It's where we get our English word evil. You were perfect until evil was found in you. In fact, he is mentioned so many times in chapter 12, 15 times the devil is mentioned. It's obvious that he is meant to be the central character of this chapter, that he is the motive force behind all of the evil events, not only in the end times, but throughout human history. And that's why we find him in the beginning of the book of Genesis, and that's why we find him again at the end of the book of Revelation. He is the motive force behind what's wrong in the world. Which is somewhat ironic because most people, including most Christians, do not believe that he really exists, at least in some kind of literal personal form, the force, or there's this evil in the world. To many, it's to talk about the devil is more like a mythological meme for evil in general. We talk about devils and demons and evil spirits. We talked around these terms, but as if there's some kind of animistic thing out there that we know is moving, but it's nondescript and non-identifiable. It almost becomes like a bad vibe. But that's where the good news comes in. If that was the end of the story, it would be very depressing. But that's also why the Bible refers to the gospel as the good news. Because at that very moment, within almost that same breath, it says this loud voice from heaven cries out, rejoice, you heavens and you who dwell in them. Because why? He says, because now has come the salvation and the power and the kingdom and the authority of God and his Christ.
Great upload, Jason A. Let's go ahead and continue on with some more news.
Alert with airspace over El Paso reopening after a very brief FAA shutdown reportedly linked to Mexican cartel drones. A U.S. administration official claims the Pentagon disabled the cross-border drones, and airlines are now scrambling to resume schedules. This type of sudden shutdown has rarely been used since 9/11. Want to bring in Matthew Wiz Buckley. He's a military defense expert and former Navy Top Gun fighter pilot. Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, put this out. The FAA and Department of War acted swiftly to address a cartel drone incursion. The threat has been neutralized, and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region. The restrictions have been lifted, and normal flights are resuming. Wiz, curiously, though, when they first announced this, they said there would be a 10-day shutdown of that airport. It really was over almost before it began. Well, Dana, that's a message sent to President Sheinbaum. President Trump said, sit on these cartels, we're going to do it for you. So I think that was a shot across the bow to Mexico. If you don't get your house in order, we're going to do it for you. Dana, as you alluded to, the last time I saw a message like this, a notice to airmen using deadly force in airspace, was on September 12th. This is bad. There's a great Tom Clancy movie, Clear and Present Danger, where the Ronald Reagan-like president said these cartels represent a clear and present danger to the United States. Dana, if you want to get a ton of fentanyl or coke across the border, you strap it on a drone and you fly it into our country. This is bad. We really need to wake up to the threat. This is technically an incursion of our airspace from an armed terrorist group. What's going to be our response? Wiz, I'm just going to put up a map here that shows the FAA restrictions that lasted just for that short period of time. But going back to, as we look at that map, I just want to ask you about something. When Sean Duffy says the threat has been neutralized and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region, I know hopefully we'll get some more information or video. In your mind's eye, you can imagine what it looks like. But I'm curious about when you said it's a message to Sheinbaum, who is the president of Mexico. Do you think she doesn't have control over these cartels? No, absolutely not. She has zero control over any of these cartels, and they're embedded all the way up into the highest levels of her government. And these cartels kill American citizens with their product, and they physically kill American citizens. Last year, do you remember when Ukraine snuck some 18-wheelers into Russia or built some fake bomber fleet? If the cartels are starting to use drones, I don't want to scare people, but could you imagine a pickup truck full of 100 drones sitting on the approach corridor at Fort Lauderdale International Airport and flying those drones up into the flight path of an aircraft? Remember Sully and the Miracle on the Hudson? We've seen what birds can do to the intake of engines. What do you think drones can do? So this is big. And we really need to get a handle on this.
Also, just a quick comment, if you would, on drones are relatively cheap to produce.
Correct. Absolutely. Look at warfare changed in Ukraine, Dana. You can strap a small warhead on a drone and take out a multi-million-dollar tank, for example. So we need to wake up to what's going on. Good on the Army Air Defense folks at Fort Bliss who took down a bunch of these drones. Our young men and women on the tip of the spear. But we're worried about wars going on around the world, Dana. We got to worry about what's going on our own border. Wiz, you're a show favorite. Thanks for coming on. Thanks, Dana.
Hey, everyone.
All right. Emily Capano, I'm going to keep it moving, girl. Okay. I guess we're watching some Benny, but seems like it's going a little crazy there.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Benny. So one of the craziest things on a live stream for us is when Alan Dershowitz was on talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And I was like, yo, was Jeffrey Epstein a intel asset? Like, did he work for the Mossad or CIA? Dershowitz was his lawyer, so he would know. And Dershowitz was like, no way, he would never do that, right? I asked him, and he said something crazy.
You were his lawyer. Alex Acosta made a pretty stunning claim as to why that plea deal went forward and why he wasn't able to get a heavier prosecution against Jeffrey Epstein, saying, I was told that Epstein belonged to Intel and to leave it alone. And this is what Acosta said before a Senate committee looking to confirm him in the first Trump term. Can you expound on that? Could you unpack that for us?
Yeah, I would be shocked if that were true. Jeffrey Epstein was not a reliable person. I can't imagine that any intelligence service would be using him, but I've heard the claim. I heard the claim that the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agents, used him just the way they used Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Maxwell. And, you never know. One thing about intelligence services, they act in secret. So you never know, but I can't imagine any thoughtful intelligence service using a guy like Jeffrey Epstein, but it's certainly possible. If so, I didn't know anything about it. In fact, once when I was in Israel writing a book he called me. He was in France. And he said, I've never been to Israel. I don't know anybody in Israel. Could I come visit you for a day? And he did. He flew his plane, and I took him on a walk in the Shuk, in the Arab area. We had lunch with some prominent Israelis, judges, etc. He asked me to put together a lunch. And then about 9 o'clock at night, he got on his plane as he left. As far as I know, that was the only time he was ever in Israel.
This is an unbelievable, I just couldn't believe it when he did it. I couldn't believe it when he did this. This clip went viral because, obviously, he just admitted to setting Epstein up with the Israeli government. Bro, I don't think you know what you just said. Anyway, last known photograph of Jeffrey Epstein. This is the last known photograph. What's he wearing? An IDF shirt. Like, how do you even get shirts like this? You get it from the IDF. You get it if you're a spy. It's clearly what Jeffrey Epstein was. Now we can straight up prove it. Check this out. Here's Jeffrey Epstein's fake passport. Now, how did he get a fake passport? Well, maybe he became a citizen of Austria. He did have a ton of money. You could buy citizenship in specific countries. You move enough money in, it's different rules everywhere. So if you move $1 million in, or $100 million or $1 billion, you get citizenship in certain nations. Maybe that's what he did. Did Jeffrey Epstein do that? Well, no, Jeffrey Epstein didn't. You know who did? Marius Robert Fortanelli. That's who. What the hell is this? So here's a Jeffrey Epstein photo. Here's this dude. He's younger. And let's look at the date. He's born in 1954. Says he's from Saudi Arabia. Oh, really? Yeah, okay. And Mr. Marius Robert, I'm sure he looks familiar to you. Marius Robert in Austria, right? This is an Austrian passport. How do you do that? Exactly. This is proof that he's a spy confirmed. Before people try and say this is fake, the FBI is sensibly running this. The correspondence is that it matches that in the files. Says Anna Luna has seen the files. Communication from FBI showed he traveled back and forth to France quite a few times with this passport. Oh, really? So how exactly does a Marius Robert Fortanelli show up inside of the passport system? It's not a fake passport. This is a real passport. So who the hell is this guy? Well, it's Jeffrey Epstein's cover, because Jeffrey Epstein was an intel op, obviously. Look at that. But it's the first time, Anna Luna put it up there. It's the first time that they've kind of given all of the evidence to this. We go Fortanelli is a surname of Eastern European Slavic origin, believed to derive from the word fortel, meaning fort or stronghold. Here is Jeffrey Epstein's stronghold, his fake ID. Look at this. This is from the Justice Department website. It's fake. It's fake. No, it's not. Morons. Here it is. All the stamps. Look at that. Look at how many times he went to France. Wow. Oh, wow. Saudi Arabia. So he's from Saudi Arabia. This Jewish guy from Saudi Arabia. And a fake name, fake passport from Austria, flying to France. How does that work exactly? It works if you're a CIA cover. Holy crap, mind blown from the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein's fake Austrian passport, Marius Robert, his photo, clear as day, is issued in 1982 at Saudi Arabia's residence. Okay. This guy had multiple identities, fake documents, diamonds, cash stashed away, full transparency. Now, uncut gems, baby. Passport, Saudi Arabia address found. Apartment. Oh, no. What could that possibly be? This is an intelligence asset. Clearly, Jeffrey Epstein gets an Austrian passport. Well, it's because it's an intelligence asset. For which intel agency? I mean, obviously the CIA, but maybe others. Again, I'm the only guy that had the guts to ask Dershowitz about this. Dershowitz is like, he wasn't an intelligence asset. I just set him up with Mossad. Okay. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Yeah, this is what Alex Acosta says. Nobody's ever asked Acosta about this. Nobody's ever asked. Obviously, the drop site's done some pretty great work on this. Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein working to do surveillance deals, state arms deals. You only do this if you're a spy. obviously Ghislaine Maxwell's father getting a state funeral in Israel, right? Yeah. The Epstein emails have redacted photos of Bibi Netanyahu. Uh-oh. Obviously, Ehud Barak is in here, former prime minister of Israel, like begging Epstein for jobs, advice, information. He was just tied in, man. He was tied in. This is like pretty obvious. Hey, we asked Alex Jones about this. We said, what is the intel element here with Alex Jones? And he went off. It's like good to pen up people who are smarter than me on this. Alex says that, like, it's just the CIA, man. It's just a CIA cover.
What was the CIA? What was the op? In conclusion to all of this,
Skull and Bones created CIA.
What was the op for Epstein, right? So if we could just look, what do these files prove that Epstein's purpose was to the intel agencies?
His purpose, the Five Eyes, it's EU intelligence, Interpol, all of it. He was more like a switchboard operator to compromise scientists, politicians, other people, and then trade all the information to all the agencies to control them. And most of the people that came to do it knew it was an initiation. Like, they were begging to come. I want to go to the party. You can trust me. I mean, most of them wanted to do it. I would say basically all. Now, lower level, he had a bunch of 16, 17, 15-year-old girls. They were recruited in New York, in Florida, and in Europe they were compromising down to police chiefs and people. Oh, come to a poker party. Oh, this girl looks like she's 20. She's really 16, really 15. And so it was massive. It was absolutely massive. So it was different stratas. Epstein complains in court cases and in emails, God, I had to have sex with 10 women today. And he's in emails, like, going to sex parties going, listen, I'll come have the meeting about the money, but I'm exhausted, no sex. So that's what Ghislaine was doing, is they were just running around full time, and he was buying girls when they were 9, 10 in Serbia and in areas of Eastern Europe, who he'd fly back and train, who were then the stewardesses on the airplanes when they're 20, who would then manage the girls. So it was mainly the girls, the women that were brought up pedophilia, that would be the managers of the kids. It's all been known already. So he ran an industrial scale clearance house to turn people into spies. And people in the money laundering and the weapons trafficking and all of that was the real issue. It was just mainly the initiation. And this is how it begins. And Teddy Anderson exposed all this in the Finders case. Before it was declassified partially. He explained to me like 30-something years ago. He said, first it's like a 16-year-old girl. I've talked to Secret Service agents, FBI, you name it. They'll be overseas. And their boss will say, listen, we want to give you a promotion, but we want to trust you. We got a really hot hooker. Here she is. And it'd be like a 30-year-old hooker. If you have sex with her, now they can tell your wife. And about a month later, they go, here's a bag of $100,000. We want you to keep this. But we want you to have sex with this girl. She's 16. And then next is a 12-year-old. And the next they take you to somebody else and they go, there's a kid down in that basement. It's causing us a problem. It's a 10-year-old. Go in there and choke him to death. And they'll say, I'm not going to do that. They say, well, here's video of you screwing a 12-year-old last week. If you don't do it, we're gonna kill you. And so I can't tell you all the people I've interviewed, like prominent, and this is on record. My God, I've interviewed John DeCamp, all people that expose the Republicans doing this stuff. You had the Democrats running townhouses full of like 12, 13-year-old boys, Barney Frank, and then that all came out. They got shut down. And they come to you at the end and they say, and the people that are into this, like later, we're talking about billionaires, they go, listen, sometimes they call you up and they go, I want you to come to my house and I want you to wash my dishes and mow my yard. And it might be an intelligence operative who lives in $1 million house versus some billionaire. And the billionaire has to come over and literally clean their toilets. And then sometimes that's that black eye club. It doesn't mean every time you have a black eye it happens. Sometimes they're like, hey, come to this meeting. You go to a bar, go to the top of a building, and they just beat you up. It's all about raw. If you read 1984 with O'Brien, which is Orwell was the head propagandist for MI6 OSS in World War II. He is Winston Smith in the book. He said this in essays before he died. He wrote the book and died a year later. Tuberculosis probably killed him up in Scotland. But he said, no, this is an allegory about real life. And O'Brien is pulling his teeth out and torturing him. He goes, listen, I'll do whatever you say. He goes, no, when I show you 4 fingers and I say how many, I want you to see 10, 20, 35, 6, whatever. I want you to see whatever I tell you. At the end, he just sees whatever he tells him. He goes, now we're going to put you in the Chestnut Cafe. And one day when you don't know, blow your head off, put you in a furnace, and push you out in the atmosphere and no one will ever exists. We're about trampling good people. We're the priest of power. You want to image the future. It's a boot stomping human face forever. So you ask, why do they do this? It's their religion. He named his bank accounts after Baal that you sacrifice children to. To them, it is about being evil. The destination is the journey. The journey is the destination. So for those of us that just want to go home and be nice and like are happy people and, want to sit around and, play a game of, cards or whatever, we aren't of their world. We are not of their satanic system, so we don't understand it. And that's the blind spot in how they operate.
All right, so let's keep it moving with another Benny Johnson.
Hey, I got a real one for you here from the Epstein files. It's just absolutely wild. They used a fake body to trick the media. Well, as they were wheeling out Epstein's real body, quote unquote, inside of the prison. What does this say? This is insane. What does this say? This say they have a fake body on hand inside of the actual prison itself. Look at this. Look at this article. Jail guards overseeing Jeffrey Epstein's death used decoy body to mislead reporters gathered outside of the prison after his death. While the real corpse was secretly removed in a separate vehicle using an unsealed files claims. According to the internal memo, the jail supervisor told the FBI agents that the staff of the Manhattan Metropolitan Correctional
You can't trust these alphabet
scrutiny
gang
of Epstein's appearance.
You can't
the file
trust
alleged that boxes and sheets were arranged to resemble a human body located
guys,
into
yeah,
a white
you
marked
can't
van
trust them.
marked belonging to the office of the chief medical
They're all
examiner,
corrupt.
prompting reporters to follow the van with the fake body. Oh, great. They just had a fake body on hand. Unbeknown to the media, Epstein's actual body was chucked into the back of a black vehicle that left the facility unnoticed, allowing officers to transport the corpse privately. The alleged deception was carried out after an official warned guards the
Where's the
large
body?
journalist
Why
gathered
did
outside
they-
the jail
it was cremated.
arrived loading dock, separate black vehicle. They
Right?
chucked the body into.
I mean,
So
where's the
media
body?
Couldn't get it. I mean, this seems like on its face, like immoral. Like what? So you're just lying to the media. You're just lying to the media, like throwing a fake body in the back of the van. And aren't you paid by the taxpayers? And what's so wrong with like showing the real body? Like I don't like. Is there an issue here? Isn't he dead? Isn't that the point? The records also reveal investigators highlighted a handwritten note found inside of Epstein's cell at the time of his death, which was not treated as a suicide note by the medical examiner. The note, which investigators said was difficult to read, appeared to give a list of grievances about the jail conditions, including a complaint about the food in the showers and the bugs. We've never seen that. Look at us. So here it is. Here's the note. Epstein's body had been secured at the scene and remains with the COs until personnel from the
Where's the
office and
body?
medical examiner arrived to transport Epstein to the facility. Due to the large number of media
the only
presence
way.
outside,
Listen, don't fiddle
the
dick me.
officials said it'd be better to load it into a
If
black
he's
vehicle,
dead or
chuck it
alive,
into a
we'll
trash
know. Where's the
vehicle
body?
in order to
As they say,
thwart
they
the
cremated
media and use boxes and sheets to create the appearance of a human body.
Let me
put into
find
the
out.
white medical vehicle outside. The black vehicle departed with Epstein's body to trick the media. Epstein's real corpse. The records also reveal that investigators found a note. They never released that to the media. And the records included a tranche of 3 million newly released documents, including this one, that says that Jeffrey Epstein's death was premeditated. I mean, this is something that's dated
smoke.
August 9th, 2019.
Jeffrey Epstein.
August 9th, 2019 is
he
the
was
date
buried.
before Jeffrey Epstein
He
died.
was not cremated.
And as we have highlighted before on
he
this
was
channel, they
buried.
describe the exact nature of Jeffrey Epstein's
Supposedly
suicide
following
or
his
death
death in
here
2019.
in the note that was written a day before his death. So how exactly do you square that?
Why
As
don't
ever, we'll
do
show you
this?
the actual page of the files.
Why don't they
Here
just
they are at the DOJ.
exhume the body.
So why would they
bring
have a
it back
fake
up,
body on hand?
and
Why would they feel
conduct
the need to do this?
proper DNA
Why have
testing
they
to
been
make sure
so
this is
cagey about what
Jeffrey or
actually
not?
happened?
I mean, I'm
And then more
sure
importantly, why have we never
fingerprints,
found out anybody who was
they'll
inside of
get
that cell
hair
too?
sample.
We know that they had lied. We
You
know they
get,
lied because they said that nobody
like,
went into or out of the
you'll
tier that
know
Jeffrey
if it's
Epstein was in.
Jeffrey or not.
And we know as a matter of fact that, well, but that's not true. We have the footage of somebody going into and out of that tier. The FBI's Inspector General and the
He's
FBI
buried
themselves
in
said
Palm Beach.
that there is footage of somebody going into the
In
tier.
Palm Beach Garden, Florida.
So there's like 3 lies just off the top of the dome. The body, the date of death, and nobody goes in and out. And then, of course, you know, just a reminder that the serial strangler, this guy, was Epstein's cellmate, just in prison for strangling people.
With the dog?
Broke his clavicle.
He broke the clavicle, and the dog told
the
guy told you a little puppy.
Anyway, this one blew me away. They used a fake body and then snuck Jeffrey. Why would you feel the need to sneak anything?
Nah.
Why would you feel the need to do any of this?
Go get that body.
Isn't it the point that you are like serving the public?
Bring
Don't
that
we have a
body
right to
back
know?
up.
Yeah, clearly not. And you know, I was
don't
blackpilled on all this the
these
moment that Alex Jones said on our
government-
show. Like, no,
I don't trust the
Epstein's still alive.
government.
Like, dude, the guy's been right
these
the whole
agents out
time.
here that
I
are
gotta
so
believe him.
crooked.
This was Alex.
This guy was a super
And,
agent.
yeah, don't believe the official story ever. Check this out.
Some of the most horrible comments and stories and emails about rape and torture and murder exist inside of these documents, some of the most powerful people on earth. And you're really left to wonder, like, what really did happen to Jeffrey Epstein in that jail cell. And there's one very interesting series of DOJ documents that show the investigation and charging of one of the lieutenants that was working at the prison the night that Jeffrey Epstein died. And he said that Jeffrey Epstein was wheeled out in a medical wheelchair and that he was handcuffed to the wheelchair, taken to a transfer van, and nobody ever saw Jeffrey Epstein again. And he thinks they switched him. What do you think about that, Alex?
I think there's a very good chance Epstein's still alive. I mean, I don't know, but we're being completely lied to. Yeah, witness protection type stuff. He was a major CIA spy working directly for Bill Barr and his father. I mean, Bill Barr was a young man running Iran-Contra and then Attorney General twice. And we now know from documents that came out that he was with Fannie Willis in Georgia getting the indictments ready before the election in 2024. So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying Epstein's still alive, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't believe any of this. And it's because Epstein, and people say, oh, you're covering for Israel. No, I go where the truth is. More than anything, he was CIA. And now you have the King Charles's brother now has been detained by the police. He'll be brought in for police custody. I mean, the rats are leaving the sinking ship right now. I mean, this is historic. It's very, very dangerous.
But people are all numb to it. Like, they don't care.
Yet, but for God's sakes, Trump
People are so hypnotized by the internet.
I'm exonerated.
That they don't pay attention.
Because they lied to him and said, sir, there's a bunch of lies about you.
Nobody pays attention
and
anymore.
plus, we can't prove it. So he's like, okay, you know what?
They're
No,
busy.
no,
They
Trump,
gotta pay bills.
this is your victory. This is your Excalibur. But you've got to execute it. And it's yours to lose. Just cry havoc, let loose the dogs of war, to quote Shakespeare. Now is the time that people want truth. We need the truth. It's already devastating. It's not going away. I mean, Epstein went from being a 10, like a Spinal Tap, to an 11 to 100. I mean, it is now just, this is never stopping. It's never going away. And it's emblematic of the collapse of the old power structure where we are right now. So,
but what we need to collapse is the Democratic Party. That party needs to collapse.
On a crusade against the satanic pedophiles, the Islamicists, the leftists, the communists, the globalists, the EU, the Chi-Coms, and Trump. We will back you 1,000,000,000%. We want action.
I say that we shouldn't have any parties. There shouldn't be any left. There shouldn't be any right. It's either you're sane or insane. And that's it. And the left is pretty insane. All right, let's go ahead and see what else we have here to watch.
Breaking news tonight here at home. An email obtained by KETV Omaha Steak says that they are ending its food service business.
It leaves many businesses in a tough
wondering where their meat supply will come from.
KTV News Watch 7's Eddie Messel spoke with one of those restaurants. He joins us live tonight outside Patty McGowan's. The latest. Eddie.
That's creepy.
Yeah, guys, Patty McGowan's, it's been around for about 8 years, and the owner, for all 8 of those years, well, he's received his meat in that beef from Omaha Steaks. Now, of course, with that sudden change, ownership tells me that they don't know if they and other restaurants here locally will be able to recover from a possible price increase with a new provider. Dan Emsig, the owner at Patty McGowan's, says Omaha Steaks notified local restaurants Tuesday through text that it will no longer offer its food service business.
After a few more conversations, I was wondering where and what I was going to do for product and supplies.
Emsig provided KETV with an email from Omaha Steaks on the decision. The email says, quote, "This decision reflects where our company is growing and where we are making significant long-term investments, specifically in retail, direct-to-consumer, subscription, and corporate gifting channels. Focusing our resources in these areas allows us to best leverage our facilities and capabilities while positioning Omaha Steaks for sustained future growth."
Difference is if
so
they would
they're
have came
cutting
to us and
them
said,
out.
"Hey, we've made some restructuring issues. We have a month left. This is the new way of ordering for the next month. We will have product for that." After that, we've decided to go a different way. Cold turkey just shut shop. It's crazy to me. Absolutely no warning. It's just crazy.
M6 says now he's worried with a new provider, he will pay more for beef. He says he's looking at a minimum of $1 a pound to possibly $2 a pound more.
And so when I originally got this, I contacted my wife and I said, this could be the nail in the coffin.
In the email, Omaha Steaks says fulfillment operations will end after Friday, February 13th. Orders currently in their system as of February 10th will be fulfilled as placed. The email goes on to say, quote, "We recognize that this change will require adjustments on your end, and our team is committed to working closely with you to ensure an orderly transition during this period."
That's the gist of it, is I guess everybody wants to know
crazy.
why all of a
But
sudden
then who are they going to go to?
this wasn't good enough.
That sucks.
KTV has reached out to Omaha Steaks to learn exactly how many restaurants and businesses locally here that will affect and what help will look like here in the meantime for those local businesses. How they have not commented here tonight. However, we are expecting a press release from Omaha Steaks tomorrow morning detailing more about what went into this decision. Reporting live outside Patty McGowan's, Eddie Messel, KTV News Watch 7.
I know what it is. You want me to tell you? It's very easy. Delivery fees have gone up by a lot to make deliveries and so forth, and everything has just gone up. And these companies are like restructuring. They're like, but it's just cheaper. We just cut the restaurants out because we're not making much off of that. But the subscriptions we are, because we could jib them with, like if I wanted to order Omaha Steaks, I've never tried their meats before or anything. Maybe I should. Maybe one day I should just order for Omaha Steaks and try it. But to cut the restaurants like that cold turkey without giving them proper notice and proper like time frame, at least like 30 days, shit. So that way they could figure shit out and get, a new vendor and new, and then change the menus and stuff, because it's such a fucking headache. Oh, I can feel that owner's headache. I can feel it. It's like his wife was like, motherfuckers, those motherfuckers. I would be, you have your restaurant all set up and everything. And the next thing you know, your vendor is just fucking cutting you out and like not giving you proper notice and be like, yeah, Friday the 13th, out of all days, Friday the 13th, we're going to stop deliveries to all these establishments. That's I don't know. Let's keep it moving. See what else we got here.
New photos have surfaced of the transgender ex-student that police say
is responsible for the deadly school shooting that took place in a remote part of British Columbia. Now,
What the
that's
fuck?
Jesse on your screen. You can see
That's a guy?
named Jesse Van Rutselaar showing off with
Is he a
glee,
female or he's a
rifle,
guy? I know he's a
smiling
guy.
broadly
He
while
looks like a
sitting
guy
on a
there.
couch with another person. Now, according to other
You
photographs,
can't,
this is
that
sort of like the only
chin.
photo
It
that
looks
we've
like a
seen of him where
dude.
he was actually smiling broadly. Many on Facebook had him sort of tight-lipped. Now, police say the suspect was found dead from what appeared to be a, quote, self-inflicted injury. The suspect is accused of killing 2 family members at home before opening fire at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, killing at least 6 and wounding at least 24 others. Watch it.
I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male.
I knew it.
Approximately the information
You
that I
can
have.
listen.
Approximately 6
That
years ago,
chin.
began to transition to female and identified as female. Both
Female,
socially
my
and,
ass.
publicly.
That motherfucker has
In New York
big
Post,
balls.
opinion writer Bethany Mandel writes that she wants the mainstream media to quit gaslighting the public on trans mass shooters. A fascinating op-ed, Carly, that went into the fact that the media is sort of stoking and fomenting this dysphoria and potentially a lot of negative and fatal consequences.
Yeah, and when I first read about this yesterday, it was reported that a
Big balls.
female school shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
It was
And I
not
thought,
female.
wow, that is rare, unless wound up being the case here. And, you know, I think this is a delicate thing to talk about.
It's not a
because gender
female.
dysphoria is a real thing.
It's
And the
a
people who have it do
boy.
not want to feel like they are stuck in the
When you
wrong
come out
bodies.
of the
But
vajayjay,
even when those
come
people
out and they
commit the
like they
most
pronounce
horrific
you right
act you
there.
can, which is taking the life
Now
or
you have a
lives
slice,
of
or you
other
have
people, this
a
happens
wiener and
repeatedly. There
two
are
little
members of the
balls
media
there.
who will, yes, report the crimes, but then seemingly give a hat tip to the killer by using their preferred pronoun and using their preferred gender, and in some way insinuating that the killer is still a victim here. And that sort of thinking is part of the problem, because you're turning a blind eye to a trend of violence. And one line that I'll use from Bethany Mandel's op-ed, she says, when young people are spiraling, we shouldn't ignore the signs, because then more violence happens as a result of that. And that's the trend that we continue to see here.
Haley, as Carly mentioned, that this horrific trend, Minneapolis, Nashville, BC, the alleged murder of Charlie Kirk. And again, Bethany writes, look, every time this happens, there's a pattern that the media follows. Frantic efforts to minimize the identity, not release the fact that it's transgender, sanitize language, she writes, and insist nothing meaningful could possibly be extrapolated from that fact. What do you say?
Yeah, you just listed other examples of trans shooters. I mean, they're there and they are recent. Nashville, Minneapolis, you listed them. And in each case, the media doesn't give us the facts. I thought it was the job of the media to give us all the facts. Then we can make our own conclusions as a society about what to think about those facts. But they're actively concealing the facts because they have an agenda. And they did this with Tyler Robinson. And you can go find the endless clips of people in the media saying, oh, Tyler Robinson didn't have a motive. Are you kidding me? Everyone in this country knows what Charlie Kirk stood for. Do not tell me that that young man did not have a motive. Indeed, he did. But they conceal the motive. They conceal the facts. We need to start having evidence-based conversations. And I'm tired of being lied to. Is a biological man stronger than a biological woman? Yes, the evidence is there. Are cross-sex hormones or hormone replacement therapy healthy for young people? Well, in this country, we just say, yes, let's rush the meds on people. In Europe, they actually have evidence-based scientific conversations. And they say that it's a very low chance that these have an efficacy with young people. Should young children be getting life-altering surgery like vasectomies? No, they should not.
No.
But we can't have these conversations in this country because people have agendas. What happened to the science, the evidence, the facts? That is the point we should be operating from.
And I thought another great point, Harris, that Bethany made was one of perceived compassion. And she talked about this, as my paraphrasing, that the kid gloves that the media and often the left use with people who are going through these identity issues with such compassion as to, again, sanitize, to ignore, to not even discuss, means that, she says, goes from compassion to criminal. Because by not naming, by not discussing an issue or saying, yeah, we clearly have this problem, then people, by getting ignored or by getting, sort of outside of that conversation, are leading to real dire effects.
Look, I think Carly put it best. You said when young people are spiraling, we cannot ignore that. I think that's really where we are at this moment. I think that by not labeling people the way that they want to be seen, that's not the beginning of the conversation. The beginning of the conversation was what was going on with that person before they got to the point where they were willing to kill others and themselves. And that spiraling doesn't just happen overnight. And can we just all break it real for a moment? It hurts to know that you don't belong. And for whatever reason you don't belong, you know you don't. And when other people act like they need to protect you by not seeing you the way that you want to be seen, and they don't want to call a crime what it is based on who you think you are, and they can't identify the truth, and so on and so forth, you're not just enabling, you are complicit in that person's already deranged view of what pain relief feels like. We've got to start to get real that when someone is going through a situation where they think they want to transition physically, you've got to start to treat the holistic person, all of them. Look, sweetie, I love you. Let's go get you help, son or daughter. Let's start the conversation early. It's okay to need help. Now,
But
I'm not
that's
saying
the
that all
schools.
people
I blame
who
the
are
schools.
transgender have
The
a mental issue.
teachers,
I'm saying that they feel
they
already
push
like
this
they
on these
don't belong.
kids.
And if you've ever felt that way, then you know a little love and help is always necessary and
They
always
do that
welcome.
drag
I'm glad that you
queen,
said it that way,
drag
because
queen
for those of us
reading
that love
hour,
the Lord
whatever
and know
bullshit
Jesus,
that
we
they do.
know that there's no
The
such
little
thing as don't belong.
kids, what the
And so
fuck?
if someone comes to you, if a young person comes to you with that kind of feeling, you can immediately reassure them that God does not make mistakes and you are perfect just the way
Because
you are
we ourselves
created.
have felt it.
That's right.
We know it.
Now, another point made as well, Doctor, you said you had a background in psychiatry. The point that Bethany made was that the issue isn't gender identity at all, or just identity. It's mistreated or misdiagnosed or undiagnosed mental illness.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of this. I want to double down on a couple of points that were just made. Carly's point that we should have sensitivity to gender dysphoria is not the same thing as saying we should ignore the need for mental health intervention.
Right.
And to Kaylee's point, let's stay evidence-based here. And you know, the left did a big disservice for decades trying to prove that once you transitioned, you were happier. Recent studies show the opposite, that there's more disturbance that way. And we should actually have the medical literature show the truth. And the truth is, if you're on hormones, or if you think you're in the wrong body, or if you're thinking of surgeries, that's not a position of mental health strength. That's a position of can we help you? Can we support you? And that type of sensitivity is really important. And that a person might be then more at risk of violence, maybe from the hormones alone. We have to look at it that way. We're always, it's for political correctness, we're looking at issues of let's not offend these people, but what about the people that end up being victims?
Mm-hmm. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host.
Okay, Emily, just come back to me. What do you guys think? We're living in hell. I think every day it just more confirmation that we live in hell, and there's different levels of hell. Like this trans shooter person is going through another level of hell, because at the end of your life, you get judged. And that's where you end up going based on your judgment on your final days. So especially going towards the afterlife, I feel like you have to come. They evaluate you like a report card of your life, and they're like, okay, you got to see. Okay, we'll let you go through. But all those D's and F's motherfuckers, they're going right back to hell. They're going back to hell. They come back. They get reincarnated. And they got to do it all over again. Because they don't learn, And I feel like the ones that are reborn, are the ones that just haven't learned enough. And they have to repeat the cycle over again. So, damn, right? You're like, fuck. Did I do good in my life? Let me reevaluate my life. I gotta start doing good. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I always felt like that. I always felt like you get judged on your final day, and once you pass, you have the ultimate judge, and they'll let you know whether you get to go to the heavenlies, or you go right back again and do it all over again. Like, that sucks if you had to do it all over again. I mean, would you want to do it all over again? But you have to go through like the same cycle, and you have to make it like the same certain decisions, and you know, it's all reincarnation. That's pretty wild topic. You know, a lot of the Hindus really believe in it, and you know, and I do feel like they do come back, but I feel like it's like you didn't learn your lesson. You're not going through the pale doors. You're going right back down to hell, and they send you right back to hell, and then you have to redo it all over again. And then depending on your grade, that's how much you will struggle. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's how I always feel like that reincarnation stuff works. Okay, let's go to the next video. Let's check this out. Ooh, this might be shitty.
We're back now with two major developments about the spill that's hit hundreds of millions of gallons of raw sewage into the Potomac River. First, here was caused by people flushing non-disposable wipes down their toilets. Plus, DC Water is now acknowledging human error led to incorrect testing data that showed E. coli levels 100 times lower than what they actually were. News 4's Mark Seagraves has the latest.
Yeah, and all the birds are eating
more
this
bad
shit.
news down here at the sewage spill. Sunday night, about 600,000 gallons of raw sewage was pumped back into the Potomac River. Let me back up and show you how this happened. As we've been telling you, DC Water has put in this system of above ground generators and pumps that have been pumping the raw sewage out of the broken pipe and using these big black pipes to pump it into the C&O Canal, where it flows downstream and then is pumped back into that underground interceptor. And that has been working pretty well for the past week or more. But Sunday night, DC Water officials tell us that because of a massive clog caused by wipes that people have been flushing down their toilets.
Yeah, but who would do that?
Pumps, putting them out of commission. At the same time, this is right about the time of the Super Bowl, they experienced a heavy flow of sewage coming through the interceptor that they could not keep up with, and there was an overflow.
Damn, a lot of people took a shit during the halftime show.
1,000 gallons of raw sewage.
They're like, fuck the bunny. I'm gonna go take a shit.
River. Really bad news for the environment. Really bad news for the Potomac River.
But
we also know that DC Water is acknowledging that in recent days they had put out some of their own testing data on the level of bacteria and E. coli in the river. Turns out they had their numbers wrong. They're blaming human error, but it was way off. The good news is things are somewhat back to normal here, and the pumps are once again working well enough to keep the vast majority of this raw sewage from making its way into the Potomac River. DC Water says they are working with a firm to come up with a plan to remediate the area after they fix the pipeline, but they haven't released any details about that. And we are still weeks and weeks away before this is fixed. Local governments are advising people to stay away from the Potomac River and the C&O Canal. From here, right below the 495 overpass, as far down as Georgetown. As I said before, the stench down here is so revolting. You can smell it in your car when you drive over the 495 bridge.
Next to it. That's even more disgusting.
You can taste it.
Ew, you can taste it?
Sewage spill along the Potomac
Ew,
River.
you're nasty.
News 4.
Oh no, hell no. You're nasty for mofo. Let's keep it moving. We're gonna watch some Tyson De La Cruz. Ew, you can taste his shit in the air. Ugh.
When I heard the news out of Vegas, I was alarmed, but, unfortunately not surprised.
Republican California Congressman Kevin Kiley wasn't surprised because a federal report he asked Congress to write shows the man suspected of running an illegal biolab in Las Vegas was known to have ties to our area in Nevada as early as 2023.
America, a federal judge just released the property manager connected to the Las Vegas biolab. And here's the kicker. It's an Airbnb where Chinese nationals were running refrigerators full of biological agents just 4.5 miles away from Nellis Air Force base.
The CDC never tested any of the vials, and everything was destroyed. We never got answers on what was going on there.
But here's what should terrify you. This is the exact same operation that was discovered in Reedley, California 3 years ago. Federal documents from 2023 mention Las Vegas ties multiple times. California officials begged the FBI to investigate. The federal government ignored them until a housekeeper got deathly ill and called the cops.
Lord knows what might have happened if she hadn't stumbled upon this and gotten deathly ill.
Or if there could be others out there as well.
Wow. That's crazy.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is a follow-up video that we did a few days ago where we did a deep dive into the biolabs and its links to Reedley, California, and that particular case. If you want to catch up to that case, check out that entire video after this one. The link will be above and in the description down below. I'll also post it after the video.
Yeah, it's so little, Tyson. You got to make it bigger.
Exposed this operation because it wasn't the FBI, it wasn't DHS, it wasn't local law enforcement. It was the housekeeper who got so sick that she thought she was going to die. The housekeeper was contacted by Ari Solomon, the property manager, who just got released by a federal judge. She was told to shut and lock the door leading to the garage. People renting the Airbnb were prohibited from using the garage. She looked inside anyways, and she saw 3 refrigerators plugged in and large glass beakers filled with unknown reddish liquid.
5 days after being in that garage, both the house cleaner and Michael reportedly got deathly ill, describing symptoms of trouble breathing, fatigue, and muscle aches.
She thought that she was going to die. And she wasn't alone. Michael, another man who worked for Solomon, got deathly ill with the same symptoms. So did Solomon's wife. So did a lot of people who lived inside the house. One woman ended up at the hospital with severe respiratory issues. But here's what makes this case even more sinister. Solomon's wife and multiple residents got sick. Yet
like this.
Solomon kept operating the Airbnb. He kept renting it out to unsuspected guests. He kept telling people to stay out of the garage. And when investigators finally showed up, they found multiple refrigerators, a freezer, laboratory equipment, and numerous bottles and jugs containing unknown liquid substances. Metro Police initially observed hydrochloric acid, which in its pure form can cause substantial permanent injury or death. They found suspected biological agents. They found hazardous chemicals. And all this was sitting in a garage of an Airbnb where families were staying just feet away from potential bioweapons. Now, let me show you the federal failure that allowed this lab to operate for years while officials in California were screaming for help, because this isn't incompetence. This is willful neglect here. California Congressman Kevin Kiley wasn't surprised when the Vegas lab was discovered. Why? Because a federal report he asked Congress to write shows a man suspected of running an illegal biolab in Las Vegas. David He was also known to have ties to Nevada as early as 2023.
Frankly, when we came up with our legislation shortly after all of this was discovered, we have not seen it moved forward with the urgency that I think was necessary.
Kevin introduced legislation after the Reedley discovery. The federal response, he says, was very slow, according to city officials. Nicole Zeba, the city manager of Reedley, said her team found He's ties to Las Vegas from a simple search, but any further federal investigation stopped at the state line. Think about that for a second. A Chinese national running an illegal biolab in California with pathogens like HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, and possible Ebola. City officials found his ties to Las Vegas through a basic Google search. They reported it to the FBI, and the FBI does nothing until somebody calls the cops with a tip 3 years later.
I don't know where the FBI's focus was. Obviously, not Vegas.
She says her teams found He's ties to Las Vegas from simple searches, but it appears any further federal investigation stopped at the state line.
Las Vegas is listed in these federal documents from 3 years ago and a congressional report, and that it wasn't until someone called with a tip about this possible biolab that now it is exposed.
Nicole Zeba said it perfectly. I don't know where the FBI's focus was. Obviously, not in Vegas. And when asked if she was disappointed,
worried about Trump.
She said, "Yeah, I'm disappointed." That is the understatement understatement of the year so far. The FBI had 3 years to investigate. They had federal documents mentioning Las Vegas ties, California officials begging for help, and they did nothing until a housekeeper got deathly ill and local cops raided the property. And here's where the story goes from negligence to cover up. A federal judge just released Ari Solomon, the property manager who operated the Airbnb where the biolab was hidden. And the reasons are going to make you pretty pissed off. He faces no charges connected to the actual biolab.
The property manager connected to a suspected biolab here in Las Vegas will get freedom as a case linked to last weekend's raid moves forward.
Solomon is an Israeli citizen here on a non-immigrant
are you
visa.
kidding
During
me?
the raid, the FBI found guns, which he's not allowed to own on his visa. In a jail call, he met to a family member, so that's charged possession. But the biolab, hazardous material, the biological agents that made multiple people deathly ill, no charges. The judge ordered his release because he lived no federal charge yet to that particular biolab. He has to enter his passport and tell the court if he decides to leave the county. That's it. But here's what the judge didn't consider, at least in my opinion. Solomon operated an Airbnb with the biolab in the garage. He told renters they were prohibited from using the garage. Multiple people who worked for him or lived in the house got deathly ill. One woman ended up in the hospital with severe respiratory issues. And when investigators showed up, they found hydrochloric acid and suspected biological agents. Yet federal prosecutors didn't even ask the judge to detain him. They charged him with the gun violation and let him walk away. Why? Because charging him with the biolab-related crimes would require admitting the federal government knew about this operation for 3 years and did nothing. Now, for those of you that didn't watch the video, let me introduce you to the man that actually owns the Las Vegas property and is already sitting in federal prison for running this exact same operation in California. Jia Baoju, also known as David He. He is a Chinese national who got caught running an illegal biolab in Reedley, California in 2023.
They had live COVID-19, live tuberculosis, live HIV, live handful of other diseases. They also had over 1,000 humanized mice they were doing experiments on, part of the process of making these counterfeit COVID test kits.
Now, let me show you why Senator Tom Cotton is sounding the alarm. Because this isn't just about one lab in Las Vegas or one lab in California. This is about a pattern of Chinese nationals running illegal biolabs across America, while the federal government looks the other way.
They should be worried, not just for those airmen, but for everyone in Las Vegas and Nevada and really all across the country. It wouldn't take much of these deadly pathogens to kill thousands of Americans.
The Vegas lab was 4.5 miles away from Nellis Air Force Base. If those pathogens would have been released accidentally or intentionally, you would have killed thousands of airmen and civilians. And here's what makes this even more terrifying. There are very limited controls on provisions of deadly pathogens to end users in the United States. If you want to start a virus testing lab, it's not that difficult, apparently. You can register it. You can buy humanized mice for about $7 each. You can buy live viruses and you can experiment on them.
In the United States, there are really not any strong regulations against doing
crazy.
this. Basically, in the United States, if you want to start up a virus testing lab, it's not that difficult.
The Reedley lab was in the back of a recycling center that used to be a refrigeration chamber for the local rail line. The Vegas lab was a garage at an Airbnb. These aren't advanced facilities here. These are makeshift operations in residential areas, and there's almost nothing stopping Chinese nationals from setting them up. Cotton introduced legislation to put more controls in place to make sure anybody dealing with these pathogens knows their end user and only gives it to certified and responsible parties like national labs, the military, or research universities. But that legislation hasn't passed yet. And in the meantime, many of those labs are still operating right now. America, a Chinese national ran an illegal biolab in an Airbnb garage 4.5 miles away from Nellis Air Force Base. Multiple people got got deathly ill from the exposure to unknown biological agents. Federal documents from 2023 mention Las Vegas ties to the Reedley, California lab, where the same Chinese nationals were caught with HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and possible Ebola. California officials begged the FBI to investigate. The FBI ignored them for 3 years. It took a housekeeper looking for lemon pledge getting deathly ill before local cops finally raided the property. And now the property manager walks free with no biolab charges. The Chinese national who owns the property is already in federal prison. Senator Tom Cotton is asking the right questions here. How many more labs are out there? Because if Chinese nationals can run biolabs in Airbnb garages with almost no federal oversight, this is a systematic infiltration of American communities with potential bioweapons. The federal government knew about this for 3 years and did nothing. Now they're trying to downplay it by charging the property manager with gun possession instead of biolab operation. But the evidence doesn't lie. Chinese nationals are running illegal biolabs on American soil, and the feds seemingly are trying to cover it up. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Great episode on this one. We live in the upside down. Let's keep it moving to another Tyson De La Cruz.
It's time to go from LA. LA has changed.
TJ Nezafati and his family are fed up, and after 30 years, packing up their business and leaving town.
America, a jewelry store owner in Woodland Hills just got robbed for the second time in 6 months. And this time, the thief came through the roof and stole $100,000 worth of jewelry in under 10 minutes. But here's what should terrify you. This family has also been held at gunpoint twice at their home after being followed from the store. And now they're packing up after 30 years and leaving California for good.
The fact that this guy was able to actually go up there without using the ladders, how did he go behind the cameras? Must have been somebody that either knows us or been working here or just been watching us for a while.
The thief didn't wear gloves. He didn't hide his face. And when the cops showed up, they didn't even dust for fingerprints or collect tools left on the roof because, you guys, in California, property crime is so common that forensic investigators don't even bother anymore.
The Department of Homeland Security says California released thousands of undocumented criminals in just the past few weeks.
And while businesses are being robbed, Governor Gavin Newsom is releasing thousands of undocumented criminals and fighting ICE to protect illegal immigrants instead of
throw Gavin Newsom in jail, man.
who help build California.
They gotta throw this dude in jail.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me show you how California has become so lawless that even iconic businesses are fleeing the state while Newsom pretends that everything's fine. Let me walk you through this robbery because the level of planning and complete lack of consequences tells you everything you need to know about California's collapse. This is Fine Gold and Silver in Woodland Hills, a family jewelry store that's been in business for 30 years. They sell diamonds, precious stones, unique coins from the Middle East. And early Saturday morning around 2:30 a.m., the owner's parents got a call from their alarm company.
The person just hammered in, came inside from the roof, came down, but when you come down, you see an 18-foot drop. He knew if he jumps down, he's going to break something. So he crawled to the end of the store where it's in the second floor. We have two stories. And he jumped down from there.
This wasn't random. This was obviously planned. The thief knew the store layout. He knew where the cameras were. He knew where to enter to avoid the big drop. And he knew exactly what to steal. $100,000 worth of precious jewels in less than 10 minutes. The thief didn't wear gloves. His face was clearly visible on surveillance cameras. He left tools on the roof and a jackhammer and an axe. And when the cops left, the owner had to tell them, wait. There's still evidence on the roof. The police have already driven away without collecting it.
Police officers were nice. They came in and took care of everything. But I feel like it was just so routine for them.
Now, let me show you the full scope of what this family has endured, because the roof robbery situation is just the latest in a 30-year pattern of being targeted by criminals while California does nothing to protect them. This is the second burglary in 6 months. 6 Months. Thieves broke in through a steel door and robbed the store. The family strengthened up security. They made it safer and harder to access. They added cameras. The criminals, they just adapted. They came through the roof instead. But it's not just the store. This family has been followed home from the jewelry store and held at gunpoint twice. Criminals followed them and waited till they got home, then robbed them at gunpoint in their own driveway.
We were held at gunpoint with hands behind our back. We're even scared to go outside of the jewelry, from the jewelry store to home. We're always scared.
This is what life looks like for a business owner in California. You can't even drive home from work without the fear of being followed and robbed. And the family's response, they told their parents, you need to move. You need to find another location and get out of here, because this keeps happening, and is more often as they don't have insurance, because insurance companies won't insure jewelry stores anymore, not just in LA, but all over the country, because they're consistently broken into. So every robbery costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars straight out of their pocket. And California's response? Nothing. California has created a system that protects criminals, especially illegal immigrant criminals, while leaving law-abiding citizens defenseless. DHS just confirmed that California released thousands of undocumented criminals in the past few weeks. Not people waiting for asylum hearings, criminals who have committed crimes, got arrested, and were released back onto California streets instead of being turned over to ICE.
California Senate Bill 54, signed into law in 2017 by then Governor Jerry Brown, prevents state and local law enforcement agencies from enforcing federal immigration laws.
Sheriffs can't hold criminals for ICE pickup. They can't share information about immigration status. They can't even enforce federal immigration law. So when an illegal immigrant commits a crime, gets arrested and posts bail, California, they just release them back into the community.
Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau says the law prevents federal law enforcement from doing their jobs productively.
What Senate Bill 54 basically did was shove immigration back out into the community versus coming into our jails where it's most useful and specifically designed to focus on the criminal element.
Adding that his focus has always been on protecting victims.
We focus on victims and suspects.
Even some California sheriffs admit SB 54 is an absolute disaster, but Newsom doesn't care. He would rather protect illegal immigrant criminals than protecting jewelry store owners, law-abiding citizens, people who have been there for over 30 years. And here's the kicker. While Newsom is fighting to protect criminals, he's also dealing with a $20 billion unemployment debt that businesses are going to have to pay. California is the only state in the nation that hasn't paid back its pandemic unemployment debt. But California spent the money on other priorities. And now businesses are going to get hit with a hidden jobs tax to cover the debt. Now, let me show you the absolute political chaos that's consuming LA while businesses are being robbed and residents are fleeing because Mayor Karen Bass is drowning in criticism over the handling of the Palisades fires, and the race to replace her is falling apart before it even starts.
The LA Times reports Caruso will not run again. Mayor Bass defended herself to KTLA when we confronted her about that reporting.
Rick Caruso, who almost beat Bass in 2022, briefly reconsidered jumping into the race after the LA Times reported that Bass watered down the Palisade Fire After Action report, but couldn't water down the community. He called it an absolute outrage, but in less than 24 hours, he's announcing he is not running. So the strongest challenger just took himself out of the race. And Bass, obviously, she's denying everything. When confronted about the report, she said, what will be the purpose of covering up a report that I ordered? It's completely fabricated. But the LA Times stands by their reporting. And Bass's approval numbers are tanking because residents know she failed during the fire. Meanwhile, lesser known candidates are jumping in the pool. Spencer Pratt, the reality star who lost everything in the Palisades fire, is running. A pastor and a community organizer is running. A tech entrepreneur is running. But seemingly none of them have the name recognition or funding to seriously challenge Bass.
County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath says she will make a decision on if she's running by tomorrow morning.
Throw Bass
the election
in jail.
is June 2nd, but if
They'll be
one
running for
candidate does
shit.
not get majority vote, goes to a runoff, that vote in November.
And right now, it looks like Bass might survive simply because there's no strong challenger willing to take her on. We got to call him Mel Gibson. Now, let me show you the ultimate sign that California is collapsing. In-N-Out Burger, the most iconic California brand in existence, period, is moving their corporate headquarters to Tennessee.
In-N-Out is here to stay. That's according to the company's heiress and CEO, Lindsay Snyder, who took to Instagram Monday, posting this message.
We're not leaving California or leaving our roots behind. Each one of our locations
Yeah,
is
but
here
you're
to
taking
stay.
your main office to Tennessee.
Moving into Tennessee provides our In-N-Out associates wonderful opportunities to buy a home and raise a family.
Translation, California is going down the crapper. California is so expensive and so dysfunctional that even In-N-Out employees can't afford to live there anymore. So the company is moving operations to a state where people can actually buy a house and raise families without going bankrupt.
Republican State Senator Tony Strickland blamed California policies, saying the state has lost too many major companies in recent years. Governor Gavin Newsom responded, saying California remains a global economic power.
He is in complete denial. In-N-Out is leaving. The jewelry store owner is leaving. A lot of wealthy people are leaving. Businesses are fleeing to Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. And Newsom, he's pretending like everything is fine. I'm personally surprised that people are still considering doing business in California. You have pure lawlessness in the streets, street takeovers, burglars coming through the roof, coming through the front door, shootings, homelessness everywhere, a poor economy, and a $20 billion unemployment debt that businesses are going to have to pay. Speaking of In-N-Out, what is your go-to order? I want to know. Drop it down in the comment section down
we don't
below.
have In-N-Out
Mine is
in
a Flying
Connecticut.
Dutchman, lightly salted with whole grill onions. And if I'm feeling a little frisky, I go animal style on the fries, extra crispy. Plus, I have to throw in a few no salt patties for the pups. America, a jewelry store owner just got robbed through the roof for the second time in 6 months. His family has been held at
In-N-Out
gunpoint
before.
twice after being followed home. The thief's face is on camera.
okay.
His fingerprints are all over the store, and his tools were left on the roof. But cops didn't even dust for prints because property crime is so common in California that forensic investigators don't even bother anymore. Meanwhile, Newsom is releasing thousands of undocumented criminals and fighting ICE to protect illegal immigrants instead of protecting business owners. The jewelry store owner said it perfectly. It's time to go from LA. LA has changed. Over 30 years of building a business, paying taxes, and contributing to the community, he's packing up and leaving because California protects criminals over citizens. And he's not alone. Businesses are fleeing to states where they can operate without fear of being robbed, taxed to death, and abandoned by their government. This, my friends, is what happens when you elect leaders who prioritize ideology over results. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Yo, Tyson, thank you for a great upload. I've had In-N-Out burgers only one time, I believe. Well, one or maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm trying to remember because I used to eat more Hardee's than I did In-N-Out. I mean, Hardee's burgers were really good. In-N-Out, it's okay. I mean, the only thing is at that time when I used to be out there in California, it was cash only. Now I know I've heard that they now accept credit cards, so that's a pretty cool thing. But I used to like Hardee's. I don't know why. They're like the food. I felt it was like much better, but that's just my opinion. And that was in West Covina. So it's west of Pasadena, and it was actually right next to San Dimas. San Dimas was on the east side, and then Pasadena was going towards the west. And West Covina, nice little area, pretty cool. It was all right. It was beautiful in the winter. The snow-capped mountains were so beautiful. The San Gabriel Mountains, oh my god, so beautiful. All right, let's go to the last video of the night, and I'm going to be wrapping it up. And that one, I left it for Jason A. So let's watch and enjoy.
Guys, the most futuristic technology on the planet. But next, we're going with
The $10,000 technology Neuralink, which is a computer chip surgically implanted into the brain, enabling people like Nolan here to reconnect to the world. So you were paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah, and for about 8 years, I was trying to find some purpose in my life.
And then you got Neuralink, and what has that changed?
Anything anyone can do on a computer, I can do.
And he literally does it by using only his brain. You are currently moving that with your thoughts.
Yeah.
We have an add-on.
I want to see you send a text with your brain.
Okay.
His hands are paralyzed, but we're going to film them so you can see they're not moving. And using the neurons firing in Nolan's brain, Neuralink can translate those signals into...
I can see it didn't change over, so I gotta fix it. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get all this all fixed. Trying to wrap up the show, but I see we got a +1 and it kind of like manipulated the whole show. So we actually got a back-to-back on Jason A. So first we're going to start with this one. Move the camera over here. There we go. And let's rewatch this. This is crazy.
Guys, the most futuristic technology on the planet. But next, we're going with the $10,000 technology Neuralink, which is a computer chip surgically implanted into the brain, enabling people like Nolan here to reconnect to the world. So you were paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah, and for about 8 years, I was trying to find some purpose in my life.
And then you got Neuralink, and what has that changed?
Anything anyone can do on a computer, I can do.
And he literally does it by using only his brain. You are currently moving that with your thoughts.
Yeah, man.
I want to see you send a text with your brain.
Okay.
His hands are paralyzed, but we're going to film them so you can see they're not moving. And using the neurons firing in Nolan's brain, Neuralink can translate those signals into movements. He just typed hi with his mind. Is this not crazy to anyone else? But that's not all he can do. So you just think left, and you're about to turn left.
Left, right, don't die.
No,
there we go.
He absolutely crushed us playing with only his mind.
I never thought would allow me to do anything like this.
And future technology can not only help the mind, but also the body.
I would say the question from central banks is what is the role of tokenization and digitization? How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar? If every currency digitizes and we have, what does that mean for bank payments? We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving, ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill prepared for that.
CBDCs are what they're going to do. They're going to introduce CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies, for those who don't know what that means. And then they can control all the money. So they can stop you being able to spend money in certain areas, which restrict you geographically, or spend money on certain things. They're going to introduce CBDCs. Now, for you at home who doesn't know what a CBDC is, it's very simple. It's a centralized digital banking currency. Centralized bank digital currency. And what it's going to do is going to allow them to have absolute control of the money, so they can control it with a time limit. 1, forcing you to spend it or not allowing you to spend it. 2, they can control it geographically. And 3, they can control what you can and can't buy. No meat, no gas. Yeah, you can't buy meat, you can't buy gas. Oh, you can't travel to this area. Well, you can't buy a train ticket to this area because there's protests over there. We don't want any protests. They're going to control you. They're going to get you by the bank strings, and they're going to strangle you.
I would say the biggest question from central banks is what is the role of tokenization and digitization? How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar? If every currency digitizes and we have what does that mean for bank payments? What does that mean for the payment companies like MasterCard and Visa? All these are being questioned right now. I think we spend so much time talking about AI. We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving, ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill prepared for that and underappreciate how technology is changing that. Not unlike how technology is changing AI and other things. It will be changing the technology around the plumbing of finance.
Secondly, they'll use a central digitized currency. And you're going, what? Where does it say that? It says it when it says the number of a name, 666, and it's a mark that you bear. And it speaks about how you cannot buy or sell without having that mark. That suggests to me a digital currency because of the number 666. But thirdly, it says that all the inhabitants will be required to worship the beast. So what we have here is one world government, one world economy, one world religion, and yet Daniel makes it very clear that it will be different than anything we've seen here to date. And this is where people a lot of times say, well, it's a revival of the ancient Roman Empire, or it's this thing or that thing. You know, it's going to be a system that has not been seen by mankind ever before. And that's why I think people won't recognize it. You may recall on Palm Sunday and Easter, I talked about how that the Jews didn't recognize Jesus because they had a different picture in their frame of what the Messiah would look like. And I think for many times we have a different view of what the end times are going to be like because we have framed it in such a way that if it doesn't go in the way we want it to go, it's going to catch us off guard. We expect we'd be able to recognize the Antichrist when he comes on TV because he's going to be so dog evil ugly, and nobody would be taken in. You know, be wearing a red cape, a red tights, he'd have horns, he'd have a pitchfork, he would have all those things that we have seen from all the cartoons we've watched, what the devil actually looks like. But the reality is, just the opposite seems to be the portrayal, that he is winsome and he's wonderful and he's powerful and he's the kind of guys that women swoon over and men desire to be. And it's kind of this idea that we don't consider this evil entity to be something that looks so good. And yet, as someone once phrased it, it's the beautiful side of evil. And we often keep those two things apart. And yet when you read through scriptures, you find oftentimes, particularly in Proverbs, when it talks about seduction and immorality, that it doesn't come in an ugly package. It comes in something very beautiful and something very attractive, something very winsome that draws us in. But it's interesting because behind the scenes of the world economy, what we're going to see is a meshing, a synchronizing, a melding together through a digital mechanism that will centralize the economic world, the global economy, that is safe and controllable. All you have to do to really see it is to follow the money. Because as Solomon noted, that the secular world, he said, money is the answer for everything. In other words, Kyle and Delish really kind of broke it down. They said what that means is that money meets every demand, it hears every wish, it grants every longing, and is the answer to every question. Now, if you're a Christian, please don't quote that as a life theme, because Jesus is the answer, money isn't the answer. But how hard is it for you and I to remember that sometimes? That when you get your tax statement and you go, what? I'm just reflecting mine. You go, okay, now how am I going to pay for that? And suddenly money becomes central and important. Sometimes we catch ourselves and say, Lord, you know, you guide, you provide, and I trust you to take care of that. But that's why one of the world's first international bankers back in the 19th century, a fellow by the name of Meyer Amstel Rothschild, he is a Baron Rothschild of the Rothschild banking and investment company. He simply said, as the founder of that whole family, he said, permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. In other words, the politicians don't worry me. It's the bankers that I'm concerned about. It's the money managers, the people who run it. And this is, I think, going to be the secret of the new globalism and this new lawlessness is the ability to control money. And that may be closer to what Paul meant when he said in 1 Timothy 6:10, he says, the love of money, and the word love there means really kind of an inordinate affection for it, an importance to money that you place it as being the key to everything. Or as Solomon said, you see it as the answer to everything. The love of money, he says, is the root of all kinds of evil. Well, think about this from a little different perspective. We often think about my evil that I might do, but the very root of demonic evil is going to be anchored in the issue of money. And suddenly it hit me that this is the key. This is why it's so important to follow the money and how it's going to be controlled and is being controlled. You see, the final world empire is going to be rooted in an inordinate love and importance of money and it's being driven by the evil grip of greed. But you see, what's interesting is that John uses the parlance of his day when he identifies the kings, Basilus. These are political leaders who are in collusion with the beast. When he talks about merchants, it's the word emporos. It's not a guy sitting behind a counter and pushing a cash register. These are business and banking leaders who have aligned themselves with the World Economic Forum or the UN or whatever entity is the formation around which this last world empire is built. But then he says, and all who earn their living from the sea. I used to always think, what do you want to bring in the local fisherman in there for, blaming him for going out and getting my favorite tuna? But then I did a little research and found out that 80% of the goods that we have, 80% of what you have right now in your body and in this building comes by ship from someplace else in the world. It's the key for transporting goods over the world. So they are the major economic carrier. And what John had just described is people who are deeply invested in the world of business and trade and economics. And the problem that they have many times is that oftentimes the world systems of transferring and handling money is not safe, it's not secure, it's not stable, it's often not efficient and needs to be upgraded. Do you realize that somebody steals your credit card and charges $10,000 on it, and you call your card company and they say, well, how much money did they take? And you said, well, they took $9,999. They said, okay, we'll refer to our insurance company. They'll pay you off because it's not worth their time and money to go after you. So let me tell you, if you're going to steal credit cards, keep it under $10,000. You know, but that's essentially it's a system where they just have to write off amazing amounts of debt because it's too costly to go and track these people down. When the gal at American Express, I said, I've got a charge for a dial-up internet network. I said, who does that? Oh, okay, well, we'll take that off. And then she said, oh, before you go, do you want the 3 iPads as well? I go, what? I didn't buy 3 iPads. When I get a grocery bill for $300 from Tedesco in London, I know that I don't spend $300 on groceries here, much less in a country that I'm not even in. And so what do? They just write it off because it's too much trouble to go after it. So that may frustrate you and I who want a little bit of justice out there. But you see, it's really fascinating because the current system is cumbersome, it's slow, it has all sorts of fluctuations. There's inflation, there's deflation, there's theft, there's corruption, there's fraud, there's the federal bureaucracy is one bureaucratic agency had thousands of credit cards that were being used by people in ways that there was no accountable. We have billions of dollars that nobody knows what the Department of Defense did with them. They have no accounting. That's only been that case for the last 7 years. They have no accounting of billions that have been spent. Maybe they've been spent well, but what's the chance that they haven't? So how do you deal with this? What's the answer? And the answer is to come up with what I call an attributable digital currency. What do I mean by attributable? Well, unlike most cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which are basically created in a digital world, and it's a closed system. So if you want to use Bitcoin, you have to be part of Bitcoin because you and I can't simply get into it. That's part of their security protocol. But the bottom line is it isn't really aligned with anything. And that's why some predict that what's going to happen with Bitcoin reaching $107,000 per Bitcoin will eventually drop to about $110,000 because the cost of producing it and the taxes on it are so high that they have to have a 10% margin of profit every month in order for it to be a good investment. So if you have a lot of Bitcoin, you may want to take that vacation now. I'm giving free business advice here, which I'm not qualified to do. But the problem, and I think Bill Gates said this early on, is the problem with most of these Bitcoin types of, Cardano and all the rest of these is they're not attributable. They're not linked to any tangible asset. And that's why people talk about gold and silver. But the simple fact is that gold and silver are commodities. They have some actual substance to them. National assets, the gross domestic product of a country, anything that has any kind of measurable value to it can be used as collateral against whatever currency you have. And that is the path in which our government right now is moving towards begin to hold our assets as backing against our debt, and and basically the idea is we can continue to spend money without any kind of regard because we have so much oil and so much natural gas and so much other precious things that are valuable that, you know, until we get over our head and are shut down for bankruptcy, can't fund our various agencies and organizations, then the creditors can come and take hold of it. Like, there's a reason why the Chinese are buying up hundreds of thousands of acres of land all over the United States, because it has value and it's farmable, whereas China's lands aren't farmable. But see, basically, most assets today are being held in what's called a blockchain. And a blockchain is really a closed system that tracks, it verifies, and it executes transactions instantaneously and always will be safe to those who are a part of it. Right now, there's 134 countries that represent 98% of the world's global economy that are setting up blockchains for their central banks and their national economy. In other words, they're going away from having gold reserves to creating blockchains that they transact in. And this includes China and Europe and even the United States of America, believe it or not. Each are at various stages of implementing a central digital banking system, a digital currency, a central bank digital currency, CBDC as they're referred to. And there are already 11 countries who have already launched their digital currency, this oracle, so that it's basically a propriety of the United States, kind of like the Bretton Woods Agreement after World War II, where we made the US dollar the reserve currency around the world and gold the standard and so forth and so on. Basically doing that again, the new Bretton Woods, where the United States becomes the arbiter, the one who controls all of the financial transactions in the world and makes sure they're fair. As someone who helped me understand it, a fellow named Kirk Kieser really explained a lot of this stuff to me, because this was so far above my pay grade and has taken me actually 2 weeks since we talked to kind of sort through all of this stuff. But he made this interesting statement. He said, Chainlink brought on as their CEO, a guy named Eric Schmidt. Who's Eric Schmidt? He's the individual who developed what was called hiding strategy, which he used to allow Google to silently acquire market share until the competitors could no longer catch up. Why is Google kind of like everywhere? Because Eric Schmidt just slowly snuck in behind the screen under the radar, and suddenly it was everywhere. He goes on to say, in recent weeks, Nazarov and Chainlink have published details of numerous meetings with U.S. cabinet members, openly indicating efforts to create the framework for Chainlink's integration into the U.S. financial system. You see, it seems that Chainlink is the missing link needed to create that one world digital economy. And President Trump really has no choice, because this is the way the world's going. And if he doesn't get the front end of the whole digital currency revolution, the U.S. economy is going to become a secondary. It will no longer thrive. It will no longer survive. It will become one among many. And the greatest threat is it's going to be taken over by China, which is the thing that they have been pushing for the last 20 years, with the silly cooperation of one U.S. administration after another. Now, there's a downside to all of this, as Revelation reveals. You see, digital currency phenomenon, it removes control of the assets from the individual and puts it into the hands of those who run the system. It has the potential of being the chokehold or the checkpoint for controlling the world economy. In other words, if we want to have Iran stop building a nuclear device, we can just simply stop their ability to trade, to sell, to do whatever they do by a push of a button. We don't have to fly a B-1 and drop a bomb buster on a bunch of places and destroy their infrastructure. We just have to push the button and it'll self-destruct. This is the strength, the good side, but it's also the dangerous side, because the system will decide who the winners and the losers are. And it appears from Scripture that people like you and me would be on the losing side. A system whose very protocols you have to follow if you want to be part of it, which is true of all protocols. But it says basically there's going to be a system where you cannot buy or you cannot sell unless you have the right access code, a mark in your forehead or on your hand. And the speculation endlessly. People, they kind of obsess on what the mark of the beast is, and it really becomes a moot conversation because it's going to be something. It's probably going to be digital. And the bottom line, what really matters is unless you're willing to worship the Antichrist as God, and by receiving that mark, you will not be able to participate in the economic system. Now, some of you are sitting there going, so why should any of this matter to me? I've got $1 million worth of junk gold in the refrigerator, and that's why we go hungry all the time. And the answer is really simple. The future is unfolding exactly as God said it would in his prophetic word. It's happening exactly as what he said would be the case in the last days, which strongly suggests, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, which strongly suggests to me that we are living in the last days.
Yeah, you can say that. We can say that. It feels like it. You know, every day I wake up, I covered a lot of the current events that go on around the world and here. And it's like we wake up, we just continue what we left off. And it's like every day, it's like the same mistakes, same problems, every day. And there's no accountability along the way. There's no accountability. We need to bring back accountability. And maybe we could change this around. But for right now, we're in the shitter for a while. But let's go on to the last video of the night. Like I said, there's a Jason A video. It's a Jason A video. So let's go ahead and set this up. And let's watch and enjoy. Put the sound.
Is and always will be. There was a circle of.
Here, let me start from the beginning.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids.
You would be shocked, Pierce, that some of the names that I have seen that came across the DOJ in emails that the DOJ is protecting. And we're talking about people on both sides of the aisle. We're talking about famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, etc., media personalities that are named in these files. And that's why I say this is going to go down as the greatest cover-up, one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. And I don't believe the girls are actually going to see justice, which is why it's going to be incumbent upon people like Democrat Ro Khanna, Republican Thomas Massey. I'm a Republican myself who's willing to name some of those names in our committee work, on the floor of the House, whatever it takes, because this kind of thing cannot continue to go on. I want to give the next girl hope that when she comes forward, she won't be shamed. Her life won't be smeared in the Daily Mail or whatever the next press, is going to do. What they do to female victims and to children is disgusting because they're protecting their rich and powerful friends. But you'd be surprised, shocked even at some of the names in the file.
I spent a fair amount of my time this morning looking at the files on Zorro Ranch. There's some dark stuff there.
Eddie Aragon says it was early in the morning in November 2019 when he got this email from someone claiming they were a former staffer at Zorro Ranch. Writing, "Did you know somewhere in the hills outside of the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G. Both died by strangulation during rough fetish."
State lawmakers are trying to create a truth commission to get some answers about one of our state's biggest mysteries.
What exactly happened at the late Jeffrey Epstein's notorious Zorro Ranch outside Santa Fe?
Former child star Elijah Wood says Hollywood has a seedy underbelly of child abuse and that those responsible are being protected by the entertainment industry elite. Wood, who's been acting since he was 8, told the Sunday Times there are a lot of vipers in this industry, people who only have their own interests in mind. Declining to give specifics, Feldman said a Hollywood executive is directly responsible for the drug and alcohol problems that contributed to the death of his friend and fellow child star Corey Haim. Wood said he was lucky to have a mom who protected him from abuse, but added, "I've been led down dark paths to realize that these things probably are still happening."
Hey everyone. Well, I just got back to the Capitol after spending the morning at the Department of Justice reading the Epstein files, and it's a lot to process. There's a lot of truly dark, disgusting, and disturbing material in those files. And to understand the depths of depravity, I just can't even, there aren't words to describe what are in those files.
Millions of pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, providing more information on the convicted offender's crimes. Among the files, claims bodies are buried near Epstein's Zorro Ranch in Santa Fe County. Tonight, the state land commissioner demanding an investigation.
I'm going to keep asking questions and keep poking around until I get an answer.
And it's so dark. It's so dark. A few things I want to say is that it's very clear the Department of Justice is covering up names of potential perpetrators and powerful people.
Aragon says he didn't know what to do with the email, so he sent it to the FBI.
I've since referred to the FBI on a number of other things, and I've never heard back from them on anything.
Fast forward 6 years later, the DOJ released Aragon's email as part of the Epstein files.
Matters. I think that New Mexicans need answers. I think the victims need answers.
And so, I do see a pattern with a lot of these females who were associates, lieutenants, second in command, executive assistants to these two horrible human beings, these horrible creeps. And there is a pattern, and it's hard to believe that they can claim to be a victim when they are continuing to invite people to these things and have conversations like that, especially when bodies have been buried. And we all want justice and accountability. And I just think some accountability still needs to be had for these lieutenants.
Right. The Deputy Attorney General says that he doesn't believe that any more charges will come from all of this. And you're saying that there's still deeper redactions and things that you can't see. Why is this happening? My final question to you. Why is this so difficult?
I wish it were not this difficult. From the beginning, the rollout of this has been an embarrassment, and that's why I forced the release of these files. But I do believe that we can still get justice and accountability on some of these names. Even a federal judge said regarding one of the women who is redacted over and over in these emails, she pled immunity. She received immunity in one case, but later a federal judge said that he believes the same woman knowingly was engaged in these criminal activities. And so I do think that there are some instances where maybe the statute of limitations has not yet been met, and there could still be further prosecutions. And I think it's time to stop sweeping this under the rug. The American people demand accountability. Congress is demanding accountability, and we have got to uncover this further. These are sick, demonic Satanists who have been running too much of our country and harming too many children for far too long.
Remembers when I first moved to Rumble? I said, they canceled me. They fired their bullet. Unfazed. I said those words. And then I started talking on all my podcasts about the 3 lives. First, they cancel you. Then they try and put you in jail for something you did not do. Then they try to kill you. I talked about all of this. I saw the future. I'm ultimately perspicacious. I'm a genius. I knew all this. And I was saying this when no one else truly understood it. Now you at home know I'm always correct. I was saying this stuff and they're like, yeah. Look, when have I been wrong? Cancellation, jail. Cancellation, jail. Russell Brand that just launched charges against him. Cancellation, legal trouble. They work hand in hand. It is the Matrix. The Matrix is real. The Matrix exists to keep us all enslaved. And your ability to speak, Your capability to have an opinion which is counter to the narrative is directly correlated to your irrelevance. You're only allowed to have an opinion which they don't like if nobody listens to you. If people listen to you, you must toe the line. You must sell your soul. I don't know how to make this clearer to you people at home. Every single one of you men watching this should be afraid. You should be scared to go to sleep at night. Because what is coming next is complete totalitarianism, complete slavery. Little by little, they're restricting the information. They're going to restrict the money. They're going to restrict your movement to save the world, climate.
You part of the herd.
People are going to be stuck in your house with no ability to speak. And you're sitting around now thinking it's all a joke. The Matrix is going to come and destroy you. Didn't teach you a thing? It was all made up for years. They made it all up for years and years. They just made it up. And you're sitting there going, oh, it'll be okay. It's not going to be okay. And to win the war, you have to win every little battle, which means when they come out with these bull assault garbage, which you're doing against me and every other man on earth with testosterone, you have to throw it out the window. And the eunuchs, the eunuch men who join that side, who are appeasing the monster trying to survive, will end up being eaten in the end anyway. You can't survive this as a man. The only chance we have is to unite and try and get some rights back, to be treated fairly under the law. I don't know, with something as basic as presumption of innocence. Isn't that the baseline of democracy?
Yeah, but what is democracy? What does democracy looks like? And you see the Democrat side. I'm like, no, that looks like more like an insane asylum. All these people need to be going to. We need to reopen insane asylums. That's what we need to do. We need to reopen them and check in a lot of people because there's a lot of Looney Tunes out there. But that was the last video of the night. I truly appreciate everyone who came through yet again. Happy birthday to Chloe, 44. Wow, that's awesome. And I'll be back on here tomorrow. We'll wrap up for the week. And then we'll see what's up. So with that said, have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch you on the flip side. And hopefully I'll be on here 6:37, depending on if I can get the show set up on time. Sometimes depending on the news. And I got to set everything up, try to set it up before the show. And it's a lot of work, but I like doing it. All right, guys. Good night.